Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. However you happen to be watching and or listening to this, I want to welcome you to the latest episode of the Gaming Circle podcast. The podcast where, yes, this week we are once again down the Everborn saga, but there's a real good reason for that. And we're going to get into it. We have a great guest, second chair, a returning champion, and we are excited to talk about Gamescom and all the potential greatness that's coming to us in gaming. Of course, I'm your host, Mr. K. Asante, TKO Asante, and all the places we communicate these days. That's discord.gg/TGCP. And this week, I am joined by the great one, the man who I have enjoyed having on this show. Every time he's on here, we always have such great conversations, and he too frequents the Discord. The one and only Ty Talks is joining us. What's going on, Ty? How you doing?
Hey, what's up? Long time no talk. It's good to be back. It's good to be back on the show.
Yep. Now, ladies and gentlemen, as you can hear, he too challenges the one infinite Umbra with them dulcet tones. So, Umbra, I see you in the chat, man. He's coming for you. Good morning, sir. Good to have you on. Good to have you on, man. Wanted to, have you back and talk about some things from your neck of the woods. As folks might remember, you jumped on here some time ago, and that show is still a show that people talk about, and their comment sections going back and forth about some of the conversations we were having there. So I appreciate you being back, man. So before we get into this thing, let me get a couple housekeeping notes at the top. Umbra's already challenging. Stop it, Umbra. Stop it. Anyway,
already lost.
Let's get some of the housekeeping notes. As I said, the great Everborn Saga is not with us this week. That is because he is actually at Anime NYC. He has a booth. He's out there. He's doing things. If you've been checking on them Twitter streets, you see some folks have been pulling up, getting a chance to hang out with him, take some pictures and all of that. Maybe check out the man's wares and whatnot. So go ahead and do that if you happen to be in the New York area. He will be back, of course, but for this week he will be out. We appreciate him being here, always being here. Maybe we'll get him to jump on the show here in the middle of. I'll ping him and see if he can show us, how it looks like from the show floor or something like that. But it's all good. He will be back. But needless to say, we are here for the next 2.5 hours. We're going to talk games. There's a lot going on. There might even be some on the real talk as far as some movies and TV and stuff that we've been watching. But yeah, Ty, let us get into this thing. Before we do, I say thank you to all the fine folks who are here right now in the chat. I see y'all, already getting lively. Thank you so much. If you haven't hit that like button, please consider doing so. Umbra, in addition to Black John and MJ and a bunch of great people that always pull up whenever we do these things. So thank y'all so much for being here. But yes, let us get this thing started, sir. Let's talk about some games we've been playing, and then we'll get into the news and all that. You are a guest, sir, so I will ask you, what is the game that you want to talk about? Something that's been keeping you busy this week. What's going on with you?
Yeah, so I started playing this game called 1000X Resist, which came out a couple of years ago on the Switch, and it just recently arrived on Game Pass. I think maybe a few weeks or a month ago. So initially, I was supposed to play Dispatch, so I had Dispatch downloaded. I was ready to go. And this thumbnail, just this weird thumbnail was just there, and I was like, 1000X was just what an awkward name, what an awkward thumbnail. And then
very Japanese sounding, right?
Yeah, very Japanese sounding. And I just thought, okay, you know what, let me just download it. I didn't even look at the reviews, which is not something I do, but it captivated me enough. So I downloaded it, and then I went to go check out the previews of the game, and turns out it's a very story-driven game. And I mean, that's the reason I'm playing Dispatch, because it's story driven. And for me, primarily, at least these days, well, maybe a couple of years going back now, there needs to be something about your game that's kind of attracting me. There's just too many games. It's an oversaturation. And the look of this game was different. The gameplay it's not really a game per se. It doesn't really play like a game. But the story was what everyone was hyping on about. Oh, it's good, it's great. Oh, till this day, I'm thinking about this game nonstop. And that was enough for me to say, okay, you know what, let me check it out. And so far, yeah, it has this mystery element to it in the same way Clear Obscure does, where it's okay, what's happening here? I need to know, how this is going to play out. I think if a lot of games actually do this, if they kind of have some type of hook that gets you, either from a story perspective or a gameplay perspective. For me, with the gameplay, Clear Obscure had the the real time, combat situations that was added to
QTEs,
it.
yes,
Yeah,
yes,
exactly.
yes.
Or even pragmata. This, like, hey, you know what? It's going to be a third person shooter, but here's a little mini game at the side that kind of like gets your attention. So there needs to be something about you that's unique. And so far, this game, it is very, very unique. It's not a game that's going to sell millions.
What's the gameplay? What's the gameplay like? What do you do in it?
It's more of a investigation game. So you're walking around and you're kind of, picking up pieces here and there. But it has this time loop system where if you are in the present, and you can't get to maybe like a specific door because the building has collapsed, you press a button, you go back in time to 700 years ago or 1,000 years ago, and the door is open. So then you go into the door, and then you talk to the people there. So it's kind of like there's like two worlds, and you're kind of going back and forth. At least so far, there's more gameplay elements to the game, to the actual game itself. I just haven't seen it yet, but so far it's done enough for me to. I mean, you can see on the screen right there. Like, this doesn't look.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful. Yeah. I do like the look of it. It's very stylized and very cool. I like it. I just don't know what the gameplay elements look like. It's interesting you say this because what you described reminds me of a game. I don't know if people have played it before. I'm sure people have. Have you ever heard of a game called Nobody Wants to Die?
Is that a Japanese game?
It is not a Japanese game per se. I think it was not a Japanese dev, but it's an indie game. Same kind of gameplay elements you're describing. You're a detective. It's a neo-noir story. It's an indie game, but it looks like as AAA can be. It's amazing looking. I'll show you a trailer of it in a minute. But basically, you're going around as a detective. Something has happened in the world, and you have to figure out what happened. And you have a magical ability, well, not magical, but scientific ability to reverse time. Right. So you come to a place, it's blown up. You go to places and you reverse time to see it go backwards and how it started and who did it and where the bullet trajectory came from and who shot who. And then later you go home and you lay out all your evidence and you start piecing together who did what. Like, it's a murder investigation called Nobody Wants to Die. I think if you haven't played it, you need to play that one next because it's just like this. And it's
you just added to my back catalog there, to be honest.
I'm telling you. Yes. Now I will tell you, when I played that game, the first thing I thought was, this is how every single Batman detective story should go. Batman should be going around kicking butt, just doing this, doing that. And then because he's DC, right? The greatest detective. It should be that detective, like the way they did the gameplay elements, right? It's really worked in detective stories. It sounds like they similarly have something like that here. That's really cool. That's very interesting. I like that.
No, everything you're describing is so far what I've been, just the sci-fi vibe of it. Like, everything just looks really nice, and it's made by a small team based in Canada. And what really also got me about the game is that it touches on this. It's not political, but it touches on generational trauma, especially from migrant groups, right? So I think the main lead is Asian based. So they're talking about how so far with the game, you have maybe an Asian character, and she's maybe born in Canada, so she's native born, but you have a migrant Asian girl and they're friends, and you can see how they both think differently. One of them understands the cultural parts of the people from that region, and the other one is from that region. So there's a bit of conflict in terms of maybe one of them is like, okay, I'm too cool now for this. I'm too cool, like you're fresh off the boat and you're doing this and saying things. So it's dealing with these kind of topics.
Got a little bit of an edge. Okay.
Yeah, and you're looking at the game right now, you wouldn't think so, but when it goes back to the past element, so I think the world is destroyed, right? And when it goes to the story of the girl in the past, she's dealing with these dynamics. And that's what really kind of makes it interesting. And I saw some commentators say how, like, listen, I'm not a migrant per se in this situation, but I can relate or I can understand what they're talking about. I think the story is quite deep and thoughtful. So I would recommend it to anyone who listens. It's on Game Pass, so just hit that button. You don't need to buy it, right? But no, really good game. Really,
that's cool, bro.
It. And hope that I'll get to finish it maybe by next week or so.
That is excellent, man. That is absolutely excellent. Hey, shout out to the great Stilo Fax, who's in the chat. What's going on, brother? Another great member of our community. Good to see you, man. I hope you're doing well today. Yeah, man. 1000X Resist. I actually checked this out maybe 2 years ago or something like that. Some of the I never really put a lot of time into it, but I did see like, wow, like this is doing something different with gameplay. Usually gameplay means something, and you think of it, and you know what it means. This means something else in this game. And at first blush, you'd go, oh, it's not a game, but it's very much a game, and it's very fun. Like very
interesting. And I will say, like, the game is, it's clearly like low budget, but this is the thing, like, you could be low budget, but if your art style is banging, like, you can get away with, you
can pull it off.
Exactly.
Pull it off.
And your story is captivating as well. Like that's really all you need. Surely if these guys had had a budget of like 50 million, like they would have went bankrupt by now. It's just one of those games that isn't really going to do that. But no, they kept it small, they kept it concise, and it's all the better for it. I think they are making a new game that's completely different from this. But once I check this one out, I'll check out their next title.
That's excellent. Let me show you the Nobody Wants to Die trailer.
Yes, please do.
I think that'll sell. That will let you know what exactly I was talking about here. Let me pull it up here. Let's see. So I won't put the audio up for reasons, but like this is also made by a very, very indie team. But it's exactly the same gameplay elements you're talking about. You're in the future, as you see, 23, 29, and some murder happens, some event happens, people die. Look at the environment. But you have this technology where you can slow down time and reverse time. So you discover who did what, why they did it. You can literally, in real time, the gameplay, you can reverse time, slowly twisting backwards, and then you can decipher what happened where. It is such a wild experience. Let me see if I can find you some gameplay.
Now that I've seen the trailer, I've definitely seen this trailer before. I don't know if I've seen the game. I'm pretty sure I've seen the gameplay as well. And again, it's another one of those games that has that hook that I think a lot of games need these days to kind of separate themselves from everything, really.
Yeah. And the reason why I really dug this is because like it came out, it was new. It had something to say, and at the end of the day, I think it was like $30 or something like that. Like it was super cheap. And I was just like, that's amazing. Like when you see the graphics in this game and what it's trying to show you, like it is excellent, like excellent. And this is also very indie team, and all they're doing, their gameplay elements, they're not shooting, they're not doing. You're just a detective deciphering what's going on in the mystery. Freaking awesome, man. It's very cool. Very cool.
Everyone says that all the creative is going to come from indie devs, and I can see so, because I think they're willing to take more risk, right? The more money you use, the more you kind of have to conform to what is going to sell, as opposed to what can be creative. This looks pretty cool. Look at this, man.
Right? And then if you don't like it, you can go back in time because you missed what happened. So now you got to go, and you're literally scrubbing through events to discover who did what, how did it happen. It's crazy game.
Yeah, no,
so this is called Nobody Wants to Die. If you haven't checked it out, people, y'all should put that on your list. So there you go. Let me hit y'all off with the game that I have been playing, just a little bit, and then we'll get into some news and things. I see some folks in the chat, so I will acknowledge them as well. I see you, the great Pixel Bit G. That is Nobody Wants to Die, sir. See, now Pixel gets mad at me because every time he jumps on the show or he's in the chat or we're listening, chances are I put new things on his list and he ends up having to go buy it, and he gets mad at me for killing his wallet.
Listen, I can see that, because I wasn't planning on getting this game. I wasn't planning on playing this game, and all of a sudden I'm looking it up on Google. How much is it going to cost me? So there you go.
Yep. It is amazing. Like Nobody Wants to Die is a special experience. More people should experience it. The other game I've been playing, as you see on the screen right now, is Beast of Reincarnation. Yes, that's right. Beast of Reincarnation. That's what I've been playing. Now, people would look at me with a side eye weird because I'm not the Souls-born type of gamer. But as you said, it came out on Game Pass, right? I was sitting there, I'm like, let me give it a shot, see how I feel about it. I do like the style of it. It's looking kind of like, okay, you need to stop that, man. Paris Lily walking in here trying to kill my wallet. I ain't got that for you, bro. Not this time. He did this to me 2 years ago, and I actually did end up buying a ticket last minute. Ain't gonna happen this year, bro. My bad. Shout out to the great Paris Lily. Appreciate you being here. But yes, I wanted to give this thing a try. Just why not? It kind of has the Square Enix kind of look to it, if you know what I'm saying. Or not even the Square Enix look. I would actually, now that I've played it more, I would say it's more about Stellar Blade. very Stellar Blade-esque in its execution. But I really like it. I'm really enjoying my time with it. I like the world. As I'm going through, there's a lot of grinding, as you can imagine, because you're trying to like one of the first big bosses is this huge like almost like a deer monster, if you will, in the middle of a quarry, and as these games tend to do, you don't have to like attack them or come at them as soon as the game starts. You can literally like build up like hone your skills, build up your level, get to a level where you can actually fight them. And before then, you're always dealing with these guys, fodder, if you will. There's not just these guys, but there are different kinds of enemies to fight. I wish there were a few more, but then again, I'm also in the early, I'm about 22 hours in, early to mid game. So it's but I'm having a great time with it. Like unlocking new combat encounter moves, like dealing with these guys, like the difference between is it something you do a frontal assault versus side? There's very, very like a lot of tools at your disposal in this game that I find is very cool. I love games where at any moment you can get yourself out of danger because you're always empowered to do so. In this game, she has like the story of the game is there's a blight in the world and it's corrupting things, and when it corrupts them, it turns them into tree people or trees, if you will. As you can see, everything's turning green and overgrown. Like it turns normal animals into these hybrid creature things, right? You have also been afflicted by it, but for some reason, which I haven't discovered yet, you are currently immune to its effects, right? So you're going through it, but it also offers you the ability to use their power. So you can like your hair can extend to the floor, and you can use that to like really get to traversal areas. You can use it in combat, and the more you fight, the more unlock. So now you can do so much with it in combat and traversal and stuff. It's very, very good. It's not easy.
Was it really combat focused then?
It is combat focused, and it has a very good story. Well, okay. It has a very complicated story. I wouldn't say it's good. I wouldn't say it's good because the way it's told right now is not particularly great. So I don't know this for sure. I am not 100% on this, so please don't come at me with this. But I am almost convinced that all the voice acting in English is AI. So it makes it very jarring the way they talk. Hello, sir, I am here to talk to you, and you should listen to what I am saying. That kind of thing. But the story seems to be good. It seems to be interesting. It seems like they're going for something. But currently, like at least my recollection, because you can also switch to the, I think it's Korean, either Korean or Chinese. I'm sorry. You can switch to the native dub, and it'll have English voice underneath it. The reason I didn't do that is because I like to like be in the moment, and I feel like sometimes the talking happens during combat, and now I'm like looking and reading instead of attacking and whatnot. So I've just been doing the English voice. It's a little odd, but I'm getting used to it. As I hear it, this game has been pretty successful. So chances are there's talk of them doing a proper voice dub at some point. I did read some of that, so hopefully the proper voice dub happens. But it's great. It's great. I'm really enjoying my time with, like I said, 22 hours in so far, and I'm always finding new things. I'm always, even when they kick my butt over and over and over again, it's still fun enough to continue to keep going. And to the point you were making, I'm sorry.
Go ahead. I was gonna say, do you know what the Metacritic score for it now? Like, how is the game doing, at least from a critical point of view? Because I did hear that some people said that the game has some issues from a technical standpoint, and
yes,
to some extent, some pacing issues as well.
So from a technical perspective, I haven't had any issues, but I've been mainly playing it on PC. I have played it a little bit on handheld. I played it on the old Ally X here, but even there, as long as you know what to expect, it's not the worst thing in the world. So it's been good. The Metacritic, as I see it here, is 73 with a 61% on user critics. Oh, ladies and gentlemen, one moment here. Let's take a quick divergence. The great Everborn Saga joins us. Good morning, sir.
Good
there
morning.
He is. Oh, you are on mute. You are on mute.
What up?
What's going on, bro?
I'm here live on the show floor at Anime NYC.
There you
this
go.
Is the Everborn Saga booth. I had to check in. I know I wasn't there last week. I had a funeral to attend, so don't worry. I will be back. I couldn't leave the whole thing to Kay Sante for 2 weeks straight. for him to spread his slander. But this is live from the Everborn Saga booth. I just wanted to check
Very
in and tell
nice.
everybody I will be back. And we did have some people from the show come by that watched the
Very nice.
show to see
Okay.
it. But this is what they got
Very,
going on
very
over here.
nice.
We're at the Javits Center in New York City, Anime NYC,
Yeah.
and we got a
Very cool.
premium corner spot.
Yeah, you in
So-
the middle of everything. It looks
Yes,
that way.
sir.
Yeah, very
Right
cool.
at the
Very
entrance
cool, man.
too. This is prime
nice.
real estate.
Very
Anyway,
nice.
I'm gonna let you guys.
I see Junior's in the house.
Yeah,
Shout out to Junior.
This is Everborn Junior
Shout out to Junior. What's going on,
helping out his dear old dad.
That's
You know
right.
what I'm saying? So anyway, I will let you guys get back to it. I gotta.
How about you head back to that QR code and slow down so maybe people can hit that button if they need to.
Oh,
you know,
by the
slow
way,
down on that-
we
Oh,
just
yeah.
rolled out a new action figure model for Karma
That's
from
very nice.
the Redlands. We already got the Ariel joint.
Why is Karma taller than Ariel?
No, she's on a stand. This is still
okay,
a work
okay.
in progress. So we're still trying because we have to fit the joints and things like that. It's a long process, but I wanted to show it off here. Now here is
Very
the
cool.
QR code.
There we
For
go.
anybody
There we
that
go.
wants to check it out.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Remember, y'all know where to get that. That is the everbornsaga.com, of course, where you use GCP and you get 10% off your order when you check out. We will talk about that
It's
towards the
actually
end.
15%.
Oh, yeah, it's
but-
15. My bad. 15. There you go. There you go. There you go. But yes, thank you, man. This is awesome.
You guys enjoy, and I will be back next week.
Indeed. Have a good one, bro.
Oh, go, man.
Yes, sir.
That is awesome. See, I wish I could go to New York. I actually will be in New York in a few weeks, but I missed it this time. My bad. My bad. Shout out to the Great Everborn Saga. If you happen to be in New York, check out the show. You know, go let him know you support him and support the channel and all that. I'm sure he appreciates it when he sees people who watch the show jump in there. So thank you so much for jumping on. All right, man. So let's get back to it. This, of course, as we were talking about, is I love this game. I love this game. Beasts of Reincarnation. It is getting a 73. You asked. And yeah, at the beginning, it seemed to have a lot of like connection, like graphic issues, and it wasn't particularly like tight. But honestly, it's one of those games where it's better than its issues. So it's kind of like what do you call it? Crimson not
Desert.
Yeah, Crimson Desert. Yeah, which started off a little odd, right? It started off a little odd, but as it kept going, people enjoyed it more and more and more. And I feel like this, it may not be exactly like that, but it's really good if you put the time into it. It seems to really like reward like investment. You know, it's really good. I'm really enjoying it.
One thing that I noticed, and this is something I think I appreciate a lot, is the game had some issues, and the director of the game, he came out and he said, I have the quote here. I'm truly sorry that parts of the game haven't provided sufficiently enjoyable experience. Even if you are enjoying the game, there are still aspects that need improvement. We apologize for the difficulties you have encountered. However, for you to enjoy it to the fullest, there are still areas that need improvement, and we're determined to work on them. And I think that for me, it reminds me of when I think it was Final Fantasy, when the director came out and he apologized and he bowed, and I think he was even crying that like the game got delayed. And I'm starting to think that there's a level of, at least for devs in the East, there's a level of accountability that they put on themselves. Whereas in the West, because to go back to, I remember when Redfall happened, and it was this random post like, oh, yeah, we'll fix it. It was like, and it was signed off by the studio. I'm like, where is the creator coming out to say, hey, guess what? We messed up. Or even when Starfield got delayed and, and it was like, oh, we're going to delay the game. It's like, how about the creator come out and actually tell people? Because I think that actually softens the blow. But when it seems like it's just a corporation, full of like suits, potentially just like, splitting it out, it really just kind of changed the vibe. So, I'm seeing that this game has some issues, et cetera, but just to see the director says, I acknowledge this, I accept this, I messed up, and I want to fix this. And even if you're enjoying the game, this game could have been better, and we promise we're going to be better. Like, to see a human being say that, as opposed to like some standard letter from the organization, I think it for me it means a lot more. And so I'm like, yeah, I think this is maybe a Japanese thing where like the accountability is like one person takes that blame, Whereas maybe in the West, it's more like, let's just have a standard HR letter, send this out to the consumers.
Mm-hmm. It does happen. Yeah. It tends, and it's a good call on the Redfall one, because we do have some Redfall conversations we're going to get into a little bit. But yes, like in general, the West tends to speak from the company, and then the East tends to speak from Yoshi P or some specific individual who feels the need to step in the front, right? It's just a different cultural aspect of it. I see that some people would appreciate, the more personalized, response on it. That is very true. That is true. In general, I do see that tends to be the thing. Now, you bring up Redfall, and that's fantastic, because that gives me the opportunity to beautifully just move to the news, where Redfall is one of the first things we will talk about. Before I do so, though, I will once again thank all the great people that are here, people that have been here, that pull up every week whenever we do this. We thank y'all so much. If you haven't done so already, hit that like button. It's right underneath there. If you haven't decided to join us, maybe you want to join us, maybe you want to subscribe. As you know, next week, well, not next week directly, but in the next coming week, we will be heading towards PAX West. And we'll talk a bit more about that, and that'll be in 2 weeks actually. PAX West, where we will be covering, just like Everborn is on the ground right now, we'll be covering a bunch of indies and news, and we're getting our schedules together with all the various interviews we're trying to line up. So thank you guys so much for all the super chats and all the memberships and all that stuff. It helps to defray the costs of taking us as a team to this event and being able to cover it for you guys. So thank you so much for all your continued support. Speaking of super chats, the first one came from Meat Smuggler T4W. Jesus, what a name with that icon too. Damn, Dirt might be upset with you, man. With a $2 super chat, he says, "Good day, gentlemen. Good day to you." That is a slanderous name and icon, bro. And then the great 108 Dragons TV joins us with a $2 super chat. He says, "Let's go, Everborn." He's out there. Will you be able to join him? Because I know you tend to pull up. You tend to pull up whenever he's on site. He too, of course, 108 lives in New York, so he has the opportunity. He has the opportunity to do it. 108 continues with another $5 super chat and says, "Shout out to Everborn. I always crash his booth and bring my friends to buy a bunch of his amazing work. As much success, bro. I support the real ones." Facts. That is indeed the case. Shout out to the great 108 Dragons. Always pulling up. Always the great one, man. And then we have Big Lemon 23. Ooh, what a name. With a $5 super chat. He says, "K Asante, I'm getting the 1X Player X2 Mini Pro. Tell me your thoughts." This is Lemon, by the way. All right. What's going on, Lemon? Same man, of course. Big Lemon. 108 Dragons. My thoughts. Let's talk in the DMs, bro. There's some interesting devices with the 1X players out there. I am actually looking, for me, I'm looking a lot at the 1X Player 3. That is a device that has some very interesting features. MJ is in the chat. He'll attest. I think he recently got the 1X Player 3. Yeah, there he is. He says, OXP3 is better. So it is what it is. Let's confirm and confirm in our chat. I would love to talk to you about your reasons for why you'd want one versus the other. I'm thinking ARC these days is getting real big. If you don't know what we're talking about handheld. Join us on the Discord, discord.gg/TGCP. We love talking handhelds and tech and all that other stuff. Thank y'all for continuing to support us. All right. So let's head towards some of that news that we were talking about. And the first one we will talk about, of course, is the whole thing with Arcane, because it seems like that story has not died down. What happened with Redfall? What's the gentleman's name? Steve Harvey? No, not Steve Harvey. What's his name? It's not Steve Harvey Smith. It's the other Harvey Smith. That's his name. I'm like, what are you talking about? Steve Harvey. Yeah, Harvey Smith. And he was, of course, interviewed on the business on the Games Business podcast. And of course, whenever you interview or you chat with Harvey Smith, you will always talk about the past stuff and this and that. And he, of course, did talk about Redfall. Now, what I find super interesting, and shout out to you for bringing up the juxtapositions and all of that. Mm-hmm. I really do find it interesting, because this was a tidbit that came out in this podcast that I thought was super interesting. They knew the game was broken. Obviously, they knew it was broken. They knew there were issues. They knew all of this, right? But they also insisted that they wanted to fix the game. So even after they'd been laid off, they got some agreements so they can come in and deploy the very last big patch that had a lot more fixes. And by the way, for my liking, it also had a pause, so you could actually pause the game. Like, they added a huge update right after it. And I mean, if anybody's played it, or if anybody who hasn't played it, like, I know at this point the dust has settled. People say what they want to say about it. It is what it is. But to me, had they been allowed to do 2, 3, 4 updates, it would have went from a like some people consider it a 5 or 6. It would have went from there to like an 8 or to like a 7 or an 8. Right? The bones of the game were decent. Right? I've always been a big Arcane fan. I love their ability to attack a problem. Right? You can have one problem and they'll give you like 18 different ways to attack it. It looked like they were doing that here, but they shoehorned it obviously into this live service kind of thing that I personally wasn't a fan of, and I didn't think it belonged. But after it came out and I played it a little bit, I did see the bones, something interesting there, and it looks like they were planning on doing those updates to at least get it to a acceptable level, and they were never allowed to do so. Obviously, you know, the what happened, and they were let go. But I just find it super interesting that they insisted that even though they were let go, they came back in to fix at least as much as they could, because I think they were like 75-80% of the way there when they were let go. So they insisted that even though they're not getting paid, they were being allowed back in the building just so they can finish that thing up and put it out there. And they did. Did you ever play that game, by the way? I'm not sure.
No, I never did. But you know what? When I was in the trailer, and I was a bit confused because, you know, I would see that IGN made a video of it and it wasn't great. Then I would see, you know, Colt Eastwood made a video of it and it looked better. But I was like, I don't know, man. If like, your game shouldn't look bad, really, just because someone is like playing it bad. And I was never really that excited about the game. And then eventually, when the game came out, it kind of like, you know, confirmed my suspicions. From what everyone was saying, it was a terrible game. Some people said it was actually okay if you play from a multiplayer point of view. And to the interview that you're referring to, one thing I did like about it was there was a lot of accountability here. You know, he was really talking about how, yeah, we messed up. This wasn't Microsoft bad, Xbox bad, you know, etc., etc. This was, you know what, we weren't even pressured to really make this game, which is quite interesting because, you know, I know Jason Schreier made a post once about how the industry was moving this way and everybody felt pressure to make this, and you know, but there were people towards this. And you know, someone in the comment section said, like, is this a source? Like, do you actually have confirmation that they were pushed to make this game? And he said, like, well, if the only games are being greenlit are single player games, then you know that is the pressure. That's enough pressure. And I disagreed with that because, you know, at the same time, you know, Doom was greenlit, right? Indiana Jones was greenlit, Deathloop was greenlit, Hi-Fi Rush was greenlit. So you had all these single player games from Bethesda being greenlit. So I don't know why Arcane felt they had to go make this live service game. Sure, there was pressure because the industry was moving towards this way, or at least everyone thought. That doesn't mean Bethesda higher ups were actually telling you have to do this, especially when they know themselves that, you know, some of the most successful games that they've, like, you know, in the industry is Elder Scrolls and Fallout, which are single player games. So I disagree a little bit with that. But just taking this, because I have a quote right here where he says, you know, the experience where he says, we finished the game and it was very poorly received. We then worked on it for a year. We then patched all the bugs, etc., etc. But there was a quote here where he says, damn, where is it again?
And he says, I know we didn't work here anymore, but can we, oh no, let me go back even earlier. We finished the game and it was poorly received, and then we worked for a year. We patched thousands of bugs, and then we got laid off, but we had it in the pipeline, version 1.4.
Yeah,
it was one of the ones that fixed lots of stuff. I went off so we went to Microsoft and said, I know we don't work here anymore, but can we release this, please? And to their credit, they did not say no. They let 6 or 7 of us sign forms, and we could get back in the building. After being fired, we released 1.4, which I think if we had done on day one would have set the world on fire. It wouldn't have set the world on fire, but it was a much better game. Yeah, and he's right. I've played the game after 1.4. If it started from 1.4, you would have been like, it's okay. And then they could have gotten better from there. Right? Yep. But they weren't allowed, the where they landed was the 1.4. It's not where they started.
Yeah, I think that this is a testament to to Phil Spencer's Xbox, where I feel like they're a lot more lenient on these things for good or for bad, and they were more willing to let them fix it. Especially from a consumer point of view, because you do have customers and you have people who actually like the game, so at least give them something as a farewell. But one of the things I like about what Smith says was and I have his quote here where he says, that was a difficult project. Arcane is very specialized, but the industry is growing and there's always more mouths to feed. And it's great when you can reach a wider audience. We got swept away in the games as a live service thing. And I had the foolish idea to assume that it was always going to work out for us. We can do this. Let's take what we love and mix it with games as a live service. And to me, that's him saying, like, this is not something I should have been making at all in the first place. And that is refreshing to hear that, like, again, this is not Xbox fault. This is not Microsoft's fault. This is not Bethesda's fault. This is we decided to make a project, and the project we didn't have the skill set to make this project, and that shows in the execution of the project. Very refreshing.
But you know what though, like a lot of Bethesda was doing similarly at that time before they were purchased, right? So I do appreciate them being more introspective about it, because if you recall, what do you call it? Machine Games released that twin shooter where it was the twins, the Blazkowicz's twin daughters game, and it also like was kind of pseudo putting in like live service elements that didn't work, so they stripped it out, and it also suffered for it, right? It was a decent game in its bones because these guys just don't know how to make a game that they don't shoot well. So it shot well, right? Just like Redfall has decent bones, but you could Youngbloods. Thank you, MJ. Right? Like it had some decent bones because they are game makers and they know how to make games. But clearly, even that one, they were shoehorning this into that. You know what I'm saying? And it just didn't. It wasn't inspired because of it. This kind of thing was happening in many places in Bethesda, right? I wouldn't say the smoke, but more the constructive criticism I'd give Microsoft is when you first acquired them and looked over all the situation. If I were them, if I was the one with the vision, I would have looked at all of them and went, maybe you're going a little too far over your skis there. Maybe we pull that one back and we won't release it, right? Like you're purchasing them, so you should know what their core is, right? They by themselves were stretching because they were worried that, they're out there trying to make money. They don't have anybody backing them. You finally are now protecting them. You should not let them continue to go down that path that they were like, and it seems like they weren't even confident. Like we've heard now a lot of reports about even they internally hoping Microsoft, now that they had acquired them, would cancel the project. Yeah, right? They were doing this before because they had to do it. That's what they were doing, right? Whether it was Harvey's call or whoever's call, they were doing it because they had to do it. They're in this industry. But now you're lucky enough to have a big overarching company come over you and say, all right, we decide what you make now. You just go off and be creative, right? They should have, that company should have looked at the product and said, no, this is not indicative. This is not what represents what Arcane is good at. So we're not going to release that.
This kind of reminds me, and everything you're saying is 100% accurate. But I think the issue, unfortunately, is that like if Xbox is going to, or at least back then, when they're going to acquire these kind of studios and review these kind of projects, they needed a different methodology in how they approach these studios. And this free will, do what you want kind of idea just was never going to work like this.
Well, see, and even in that, I will agree and disagree with you a little bit. Free will, yes, but even they didn't want to do this. If they wanted to do it, sure, let them do it. Like what do you call it? Ninja Theory wanted to release that PvP shooter. They loved that. They wanted to release that, so they allowed them to release it. It came out 2, 3, 4 weeks, a month, 2, 3, 5 months. It went away, but you let them do it because they wanted to release it. That's it. That's different. By all accounts, Arcane didn't want to release this, and you still let it come out. That's the difference, right?
But like I really get it from Xbox's point of view because. When you have a studio like this and they're making, like, I would say this year, did Xbox know that Arcane didn't want to release this?
That's the question. That's the question. Everything we're discussing here obviously is hindsight. This is news that have come out, but during that time, was that known? Probably not. Yeah.
And even at that, to buy Bethesda, and then to go in and shut down an Arcane game, everyone would have went crazy, and it would have kind of caused some kind of bad blood within Xbox. And maybe the stickers because you're this big corporate, you just shut down Arcane's game.
So I think you see what you just described here. There was no winning for them. No winning. You shut it down, you're screwed. You let it out. We know what happens when you let it out. You're screwed.
Exactly. Like it was a lost situation. There was nothing you could do.
That's an interesting thought. Yeah.
Yeah, but like I said, very refreshing interview. I don't know if you're gonna go a little bit more into what he said about sim like games not selling well.
Yeah. I look, and this has always been part and parcel of my enjoyment of games. Like we'll get into it, and before we get out of here, I want to talk to you about like the games that you're looking forward to in September. My game that I'm looking forward to in September more than any other game is Control. Right? Remedy. I love Remedy games. Has Remedy games ever sold well? No, they never do. But for some reason, that type of game speaks to me. Similarly, I have always loved Arcane games. I love Dishonored 1. I'm not a DLC player. I played all of it. Death of the Outsider, all of this stuff. And I loved Dishonored 2. But they never make any money. But for some reason, I feel like they're gameplay forward and they do some unique things that you can't see anywhere else. You know what I mean? And it's just unfortunate that, like Remedy, Arcane can't seem to get people to love that thing that they're good at.
So I have some mixed feelings about this, right? Because because some people have said like, hey, sim games are just not that popular, whatever. I think what's really happened here is that other games have allowed people to take different pathways into doing an objective as well. I think of Assassin's Creed, how do you want to just kick down that door and go hack and slash everyone? Go for it. Do you want to sneak around? Go for it. Do you want to be a sharpshooter from a distance? Go for it. I remember seeing Splinter Cell and how it went from completely stealth to like, no, now we're gonna give you a shotgun to go just like take out. So I must say like they're the exact same. Other games are starting to take elements of sim.
Yeah. Of course. Yeah. It's like the RPG in integrating into everything, right? Everything has RPG elements right now, right? But to your point, when they start doing that, it starts diluting what these guys do a little bit. But I will say the difference between what these guys do and say all those elements in those other places, they don't let like the cause effect isn't the same like in Assassin's Creed. I love Assassin's Creed. I love the fact that they're letting you do a lot more of that as well. But the world is not as dynamic as a sim game is. In a Arcane game, like if you're stealthy and you're not killing nobody, the world is cool. If they start seeing dead bodies everywhere, now the rats are losing their minds. Now everywhere you go, people are mad. They're shooting at you. Like the world responds to that's the sim nature of it. Like, so it kind of gives you a reason to either go balls to the wall or be super stealthy. Whereas in the other games they're describing, they just enjoy incorporating those elements because to you gamer, it becomes do what you want, have a great time, right? And that's also good. But to me, that is daddy's first entry into a sim versus these guys who really put it out there. You know what I'm saying? And it's just unfortunate that and when I say sim, I'm not talking like crazy in directions where it's not fun to play, because I feel like sims can also get there, right? There are a few sim games that to me, like if you have to, and you guys will know what I mean when I say this, if you have to learn to speak a language before you're able to read any signposts in a game, that's more sim than it is fun, if you know what I'm saying.
I agree.
If you're driving down the street trying to avoid the cops in this fun game and all of a sudden you run out of gas, that game is more sim than it is fun. I'm looking at you, GTA. I'm just saying. Like, so we shall see, right? But I always felt like these guys struck a beautiful balance of keeping it fun while also keeping it sim. And I don't think that the public enjoyed that.
Yeah, so there's a lot there I agree with. Pretty much everything there. What I will say here is that I do think because I look at, for example, Larian Studios, right? And they made, the Vinci Original Sin 1, we also had Obsidian make Pillars of Eternity, and those games are CRPG games are generally seen as a game that probably sells maybe between 1 to maybe 4 million max, or like 3 million, at best. And Larian came out themselves and said, when we wanted to go from to make the first AAA blockbuster CRPG game, we didn't know it was going to sell because this has never been done before. And I look at Larian's track record and I say, well, Divinity Original Sin 2 apparently has sold like 7.5 million.
Oh yeah.
And if that's the case,
1 and 2 together, so like if you've ever played any of those, like you knew definitely why Baldur's Gate 3 was handed to them, because like they were building their resume saying, look, we are the guys should be making this. And man, like those 2 games, I would actually argue in some respects, those 2 games are better than the Baldur's Gate, but that's just me.
No, I would agree with that. Listen, I think a lot of prequels are better than the sequels. I even think The Witcher 2 is better than The Witcher 3. The Witcher 3 is just such a commercial. Anyone who likes, I always say, anyone who likes The Witcher 3 to me is more of like a casual, because The Witcher 2 is hard.
Did you finish 1 and 2? Did you finish it?
No, I didn't finish 1, but I finished 2. And
I
2 was
1 and 2.
Yeah, so 1 is really, I heard many things about
really
1.
difficult. Really difficult.
Like I when 3 came out, I was just thinking to myself, like, why is this so easy? Why is this so commercialized now? But yeah, anyway,
it's more approachable to them.
Yeah,
like that was them being more approachable. Yeah.
I hate that so much.
It was more approachable.
Like, Larian did it, and Baldur's Gate 3 sold really well. So I would say for sim games, start off small, small scale, and then grow out once you do that. Listen, Mankind Divided and Human Revolution collectively, I think, sold over 10 million copies, right? BioShock sold over like maybe it was 7 million copies or 10 million copies as well. So these games have had hard sales in the past. I just think they need to have a new approach. Start small again and then build up, and then before you know it, you're gonna have basically you could do what Larian did, which is there should be a sim like game that comes out. If you tick all the right boxes, and you should be able to do maybe 15 million.
Make it, yeah. But see, I agree with you. But all these things always work in hindsight, because when you're heading in that direction, you never know. Some people strike it great, and most companies, and this is why I always feel like these companies should not shoot where the puck is going, where the ball is going. They should just continue doing what they do and hope that the zeitgeist moves in their direction if they're making quality stuff, right? I know it's a Pollyanna way to look at things, and if you're in a corporate setting, you don't have the right to do that, right? You have to try and make money. But I love that, and I see people talking about it, like when what do you call it? When Double Fine and Tim Schafer are like, you know what? I'm done here, right? It is what it is. They go back to doing what they do best. Weird little quirky things that may not work. Right? You can't expect them to do the crazy AAA multiplayer, whatever. They can't do that. That wasn't their bag. So what are they doing? Back to their bag, right? Same thing here. We were talking about Arcane. Harvey Smith and the 2 original founders have now created a new studio. What's it called? Black Pony. Black Pony Studios. And what are they working on? Immersive Sims. Right back to what they enjoyed. Up to 26 people now back together, basically recreated Arcane in a different way, and basically going right back to exactly what they were doing before, right? Does it mean they will now be successful? Lord knows, but I'll be there. I'll be there to check out what they do.
Because I think the issue when some of these studios get too big is that they lose focus on what's important, and they start to scope creep, and they tend to have really bad project managers who manages a project really well. When you own the studio yourself and you've been given a budget and you have to work within that budget, no matter how small, I think you find a lot of creative ways to make things work, and you prioritize what makes sense. When you're in, a bigger studio, AAA studio, and you're given a budget of 150 million, I think you learn to just take the piss, and you turn to overshoot, and then as a result, you end up with a game that is over budget, way over budget, and then the game fails, and then your studio shuts down. I trust that Harvey Smith, and I don't know if you're going to talk about similar to the guys who are Project Dark. Damn, what's this Xbox studio
Black
again?
Pony?
The Initiative.
No.
The Initiative.
The Initiative. Yeah.
You know, and I wonder if they look back on that and say, like, you know, we really took the piss here. Like, we were given a budget by Xbox, and we got all this money, and we really just like squandered it. And now that they're on the Take Two, you know, I expect them to be like, no, we're focused now from a project management point of view. We're not gonna, like, you know, go overboard. So
isn't it funny? Isn't it funny how, and this is a history on Xbox as well, isn't it funny how there's lots of history of people taking the big man's money, squandering it, right? Like, oh, they had to go through the motion. And then once that cycle or that season ends, the next thing they release is a banger and it's great and people love it and they go, why'd you squander all that money? That has happened to Microsoft multiple times now, right? You know, there are games in their past. We won't go there because once we do, people will start talking about it. I ain't gonna go there, but you know what I'm talking about. Where, you know, they'll take the Microsoft's money, and then before long, it's happening, and before you see it, the game doesn't come out, and then the next thing they release is pretty good. It's problematic, right? And I wouldn't just out flippantly say it's bad management or something. I would probably equate it to the process, right? You need to learn the process. And learning the process wastes time and money and effort, right? It does, but you need to get there in order for you to literally understand what you're building. But for some reason, like Microsoft always ends up being the butt of that. They always end up grabbing the great studio or making the second party deal or whatever, while they go through the machinations, waste a bunch of the big corporate man's money, and then move forward and create something else without them. That happens multiple times.
Yeah, I hate it so much.
Like, yeah, it's unfortunate. It sucks.
I'm obviously in you guys' Discord, and when I'm working, I get to listen to you guys chat. So a lot of the times, and I know there's a lot of like disagreements on Xbox's new approach or not. I know you have your takes on some of it, and you know, my take overall on it is that, like, yeah, these guys all took the piss out of Xbox. To be honest, I think they're all kind of messing around, and obviously that's management's fault as well for not really, you know, holding them down. But a part of me feels like, you know, I think everyone likes Phil, and I think everyone thinks Phil's a great guy, but I feel like they actually let him down more than anything else. You know, he gave you this freedom, told you to do all these things, and what did y'all do? Like, y'all didn't even give him a game. Like, y'all did it when things got heated at Xbox. Some of you were supposed to come through and say, thanks for giving me the freedom. Thanks for giving me, you know, thanks for saving my studio in the past. You know, here's that game that's gonna help you, you know, go to your bosses and say, yo, look, we got like better margins now. This game is doing well. That didn't happen. So I think they let him down. I mean, he let them down by letting them.
He had their backs by keeping the old school alive, and they didn't reciprocate, is what you're saying. Yeah,
pretty much.
I see what you're saying. That's what I will push back in the idea that everybody loves Phil. Everybody loves Phil. Now, I don't know if everybody loves Phil, man. I hear a lot of smoke about Phil. Now, for the record, I like Phil. I actually think what Phil did was good. I think Phil was he threaded a needle that was difficult, being in the corporate space while still being a decent human being. Like it's tough to do, right? And I think by and large he did that. So it's good. I think ultimately what they did was good. If I have any criticism for them, it's that they didn't wait and let it finish to its eventual conclusion. They cut it off before it actually got to where it needed to go. But that's neither here nor there.
You know, I've heard you say this comment on the Discord a few times, and I remember thinking, oh, I really disagree. Like,
oh yeah, well, yeah. Look, it's look, to me, the culmination of all of this would be when that next gen console comes out, because they put a lot of plates in the air, right? And there was lots of mixing going on, and of course, the way this thing works, they barely tell you, the public, what's really going on until that plane lands, right? And like, we're assuming that it was completely bad when we don't know what it was, because before it lands, now Asha is doing a lot of moving and shaking and changing things around. Some things she'll have ability to really manipulate. I think software, messaging, all that. Some things she won't have the ability to manipulate because that's already been like negotiated a long time ago, like the hardware that AMD's making and all of this other stuff, right? So I just feel like people are secure and very vehement that this change was necessary, and I'm not that secure. I'm not that vehement about it. I wanted to see it land and then make an assumption or a judgment on it. And I feel like people are presuming that it was going to be completely left when we don't know that. We didn't see that.
I think the reason why the change is necessary is I don't believe they had a great business strategy altogether. So the way I look at it is this. The reason why Xbox is in this position is due to business failure. And I think that business failure primarily stems from games. Over here in Europe, this in Ireland anyway, there is no game that Xbox releases that I just want first party point of view that anyone actually like gravitates towards. I remember when I first saw Compulsion's South of Midnight, like the reveal. And a lot of people were talking, oh, the game looks cool, the games, and I remember thinking to myself, this is not gonna sell. I don't know how, like, okay, cool, but this is not gonna sell. I remember seeing Hellblade 2, and I thought that looked really cool. And then once I saw like the gameplay and I saw that the game a little bit more in emotion, I thought to myself, this is not gonna sell. And I kept asking, why are they making games that are not gonna sell? Yeah, these are okay games, but I don't know how you have this studio, you purchased a studio to make games that are not gonna sell. And I was really bamboozled by this. I was like, okay, there must be something else that they're gonna release. I saw Avowed. I was thinking, this is not gonna sell. Outer Worlds, like I kept on seeing these games that were like, for me, these games are games that do well as a multi-platform game. Avowed is not a game that should be exclusive. Outer Worlds 2 is not a game that should be exclusive. South of Midnight should never be exclusive. Hellblade 2 should never be exclusive. So you're making games that are multi-platform, that do as a multi-platform game. So they need to be everywhere. And all I could think is, well, if you keep making these kind of games, you're going to have to go multi-platform. So to me, that's the failure point of the previous administration.
Here's my question. What do you think of Fable? Is that also in that lineage of games that need to be multi-platform for it to talk?
Fable doesn't need to be multi-platform. However, due to the fact that it's been developed for like maybe 10 years or so, I'm like, yo, that costs too much money. Because I think if this was a game at Nintendo or Sony, they would have canceled it a long time ago. They would have said, y'all are taking the piss, you don't know what you're doing. Or they would have stepped in there and revamped it really quick. Like Metro Prime, for example, is a perfect example. Nintendo said, Metro Prime 4, we made it open world. And then guess what? It turns out you guys don't like open world. But by then it's too late, so we just got to drop it. Yeah. So, but at least that game is maybe low cost. Fable is a game that can draw in users because it's unique. It has British humor. There's all this, it's sim-like with the rent and everything. That hasn't really been, there's not a game that's really doing that. So I think as a
since Fable left, new games have not really replaced that idea.
Exactly. So that can actually be an attraction point to the platform. The problem is because it costs so much that you probably have to make it multi-platform. And again,
so unfortunately, the cost so much part that can't be helped, right? Because you are first looking for a studio that has the vision and heart to want to build that. Obviously, you want it to be British because it keeps the same British humor. They like the ones that popped up that was worthy, obviously being turned 10 or Playground. They weren't really staffed up for that, right? So if they convince you, man with wallet, that they can do it, that means you have to staff them up. That means you have to, bring because the same team that makes racing games aren't exactly the same team that will be making this. There will be some interoperability, but you're staffing up a team. You're maturing the engine because the engine up until now has only done very good racing games. You're not just like, and for people who don't know how engines really work, you're not really just taking the bones of the existing engine you have and just making an RPG. You have to add more to the engine now that you're going to be doing more with the engine. So the idea of Fable coming back in a AAA like modern way was never going to not cost a whole lot of money. That's just what it is, right? To bring it back in a big way, you have no choice but to spend the dough on the engine, on the people. It's one of those things.
So you're right, but here's where I think there's better management of the situation where it comes to, like, let's say a Sony or Nintendo. People have told me that, hey, Playground has to make Fable because they're British. No, they don't. That's a lie. They don't have to do that. I'll give you an example. Sucker Punch makes Ghost of Tsushima and Ghost of Yote. Everyone tells you like those are like heavily loved as Japanese games. They don't.
Yes.
They're not.
They don't have to be Japanese to make Japanese games. You're not wrong.
Here's what you do.
Absolutely not.
You make the game, and then you go hire, consultants to then make the game for you. And people are like, oh, but you need the British actors. Like, yeah, but like Xenoblade was made in Japan, and all those actors
had a bunch of British actors.
British actors. Like, this idea that a game is to be made in a location, is bizarre.
Well,
it doesn't make sense.
So that's not a requirement, but it's something that they wanted to do in order for it to happen, right? As Pixel's saying in the chat, they wanted to make the game. It wasn't Microsoft that went, hey, you're making this because you're British, right? They had a game that originally had a British aesthetic, that had a British humor that people loved, that they, Microsoft, stupidly closed the studio on a long time ago. Looking at you, Lionhead Studio, right? So one of their own British studios who has, let's be honest, been typecast solely in this racing game, but every time they make a racing game, it is effing awesome. We know this, right? They're the ones who came and said, hey, we see you have Fable. We want to make Fable from you. If I was Booty or whoever the decision maker in there would be, I'd be looking at you with a side eye going, you make great racing games. Are you really sure you're going to be doing this? And then the process would be them convincing me that it is worth me investing in them in order to make that. Now, me personally, as the representative of the company, I would say, hey, that means I don't have to go your route, right? Consultants and the like. These guys are already there. They already have, they're steeped in that culture. They potentially have a leg up to be able to do that, right? So it wasn't really like we are telling you you're going to make this. It's them who came to Microsoft and went, look, we can do this, and convinced them enough to where they got staffed up, additional teams, that whole thing, right? When it comes to Fable, I honestly think like we should wait and see how the dust settles on it. It may very well do very well. It may very well do very well. It's just right now, because everything else that's going on with this company, all that can always be talked about is, meta narratives that don't necessarily work in their favor. But as in a vacuum, you disagree that game could potentially be what they were looking for from a very good, like they could do Fable justice. You don't agree with that?
No, I agree that right now I'm looking at the game, and the game looks like
it's excellent.
It's like a game that's gonna do well for Xbox, and it was an exclusive game. It was definitely gonna draw some eyes to the platform. I look at it from a business point of view and say it shouldn't have been this. If you had Obsidian, if you had in Exile, you had RPG studios that are great at making RPG games. And then you decide to give your biggest franchise to a studio that doesn't have any pedigree making RPG games. That just doesn't really fly. Like, there's a reason why Nintendo went to Bandai Namco to help them with Smash Bros. It's because they have that pedigree. There's a reason why, if you want to make Killer Instinct, you go to like a studio that already has.
So are you saying that when Playground came to them, they should have went, nah, you guys don't make that. Go make what you make. We're going to go hire a studio that does make these?
Yes, because from an analysis point of view, because right now, obviously hindsight is great, but the fact that it's nearly like 9, 10, whatever, how many years it is to drop this game, that should have been somebody should have had the oversight to say, like, here's the first thing that comes to my mind. You're using the Forza tech. Is that a tech that's used for RPG games? And if we have to hire people to come and help support this game, can we just hire any random person? If it was Unreal Engine, maybe it's easier to hire people and they can get on the ground running. It's the same thing with Halo's engine, right? You were hiring people who then had to learn the tech, etc., etc., etc. So from a business point of view, maybe using Forza Tech was the wrong thing because they have to understand that engine.
So for me, my disagreement in that, and I get it from a business point of view, of course, and this is why Unreal Engine 5 is leading. Because from a business point of view, it makes sense, right? It does everything easier than you making your own thing and costing you additional money. But ultimately, as a gamer, that leads to diminishing returns, right? As a person who enjoys the games you get, if all you are allowing, if all that works is you are a racing game maker, you only make racing games, you never get that creative juice. You never get that, hey, these guys are doing something amazing that you wouldn't have imagined was possible, right? Like, and in the beginning, we were actually talking about this yesterday on Discord. In the beginning, everyone was on their own silos, making their own proprietary engines before you can make your game. That is how it worked. And as we draw closer and closer and closer to corporate nirvana, right, they're giving away of their engines to unify under one industry standard, right? The latest to do that is the Red engine in CD Projekt Red, right? They kind of half in, half out because they're still releasing DLC, which is another conversation. But at the end of the day, I feel like that loses creativity. Eventually, you all refine yourself to the point, right? And in corporate America, that works great. In corporate in general, that works great because it gets you to iterate quickly. You can make a game real quick. But I feel like you will ultimately lose that creative edge. And secondly, when the person who holds the keys, and in this example I'm making, which would be Epic, decides to twist the screws and go, now it was 10% and now it's 30%. Now you're screwed. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I understand what you mean from a business perspective. Like, business needs to iterate and they need to make it worth their while from a business perspective. But I feel like this is a situation where it's creativity meeting corporate, and it's always a fine dance of finding that balance. Because if it goes too corporate, you lose stuff in the game. You know what I'm saying? And to your point, if it goes too creative, now you spend so much money, and now the business side doesn't justify its existence. It's a fine dance that needs to exist. And it looks like it's going the pendulum is swinging a little too much in either direction, if you understand what I'm saying.
So I get, 100% I get that. And I think, at the end of the day, because I was talking to some guys about this on a different podcast, and they were saying how, like,
and then we'll move on to the next topic. Yes.
Yeah. And they were saying like how Xbox has, Playground Games, which is going to be seen as the best studio ever because they have Forza and Horizon, and they also have Fable now, and that's going to be two great games that they're releasing. And I think, that's great for Playground, but how's that great for Xbox? Because what Xbox needed was for Fable to come out years ago, around the same time as Starfield, to build momentum. Now, there's just so much that's gone wrong this generation that all these games coming, the games are coming after they went multi-platform, and now they're kind of reversing it back. So my critique is, if you had managed this better and, you said, okay, let's use Unreal Engine instead, or you said, let's give it to a different RPG studio instead, you might have had the game that came out faster. And I think when you're going against PlayStation, and they're very aggressive, and they have the God of War Ragnarok, Horizon Forbidden West, they have all these timed exclusive games. They have games that weren't supposed to be timed exclusives, but ended up being like Baldur's Gate. When you have them being so aggressive, and you're in second place, third place, whatever you want to call it, you don't match them, cadence. You have to be superior to them. You have to surpass them in every shape or form. So you don't have the luxury of having one of your biggest IPs in Fable come out nearly towards the end of the generation. Like, Fable's about to drop literally, the year before Helix comes out. Like, that shouldn't be the case. It should have been, Starfield, Gears, Fable, it should have been more consistent. And I think that lack of consistency in drops really hurt them overall. So from a business perspective,
I don't disagree with that.
Argue and the development cycle of being 8 to 10 years is made sense for a platform that is in second or third place.
From a business perspective, I definitely do not disagree with that. I just feel like if you focus too solely on the business perspective and make that right, it also makes some of the creative suffer. It's not a very, the criticism that people are making are valid because they did a lot of creative first decision making, and creative first decision making also doesn't work for the business, right? But the counter to that should not be business first decision making, because that also will counteract the product. There needs to be a balance. And for me, I don't think the studios have that smoke. That comes from the strategic folks that are funding all of this, right? That's where the smoke comes from, because you need to make sure you allow the creatives to be creative, and you're in a creative environment. Nothing lands pinpoint accurate. You're not in enterprise. You're in creative, right? You're in retail. So you must set it up to allow for a little bit of dynamism. And they didn't. And this is the reason why the games that are really good end up delaying and need so much time for it to finish, right? And as a person who's responsible for making those games come out, multiple games come out, it is in your best interest, and it is your job to make sure that the minute you even sniff that there's a potential of a delay there, you have something else ready to circumvent it. and allow the creatives to continue to be creative in the background, not being paid attention to. Because here's another game. That's one thing Sony does so damn well. You never see that because they're like, oh, nothing to see here, another game. This is what they do, right? I don't think that the studio necessarily was a bad call, right? I appreciate the fact that they wanted to give it to a studio that was a first party studio. So if it works well, now you have a first party studio that you don't have to pay more every time. You don't have, you're not at their beck and call, right? This is your first party studio making your first party game. So the idea that they invested in them to do that, I think is a good look, because you don't want a porting or a journeyman studio to spit it out. You now have a hit, and then the next time you need it, now they're asking for double the price because you have a hit. No, allow them, your studio, to do that. But while they're incubating, because they're a racing studio, right? While they're incubating, while they're going through it, while they're maturing the engine, set other things in path that does not let the consumer go, so where's the game again, right? And that's what gets missed a lot. And because of that, then the smoke comes right back to them. Where's my game? Yeah, there are all these other games that are ready in position, right, to service the customer while those guys are working it out in the back. And that's what doesn't happen, right? And because that doesn't happen, now you go directly to turn 10 and go, where the hell's my game? I think it's smoke for, I don't know, Matt Booty or whoever is in charge of setting the murder board of, all right, we hit him with this, then we hit him with that. If this doesn't work, we have this to circumvent. That's where the problem lies here, right? Sony does it too. Nintendo does it too. But them, when they even sniff in the background that this game that they're hitting on the board is going to be here in November is not going to be November, there's another one waiting in the wings to be in November. So when they announce it to you, you don't hear, oh, we were going to do this and now we're not doing it. No, you only hear the second one that they've already replaced with. You never hear the first, right? They are very good at that. So that is where I agree that there should be more aggressive behavior. That's where you money hat. That's where you get a second party deal, so that in case you have to delay Fable the umpteenth time, bam, there's another thing right there, and no one knows any better, True. But yes, I think all of the criticism, whether I agree or don't disagree, come from a righteous place, and I appreciate your perspectives on it. Let's get a couple super chats and we'll move forward. The great Soil Tech, always here. He's the mod in the Discord, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. So if you're not on your best behavior, he will put you in the shadow realm and no one will mourn you. He's here with a $2 super chat. He says, please subscribe, share out. Astrobot equals the Temu Sonic? Oh my God, man. Why are we slandering so early this morning? Anyway, all right. And then Ted Pete with a $2 super chat says, Pete Hines is the reason why Redfall released. And then what happened to Pete? Shout out to Pete. I actually was lucky enough to get a chance to talk with Pete for a little bit some time ago. Nice guy, but if he is the reason why Redfall released, I think he deserves a smoke for that, because maybe they should not have released that. I'm just saying, maybe that should have been a game they decided to put in the back burner. Maybe give it more time in the hopper before you release that. But that's neither here nor there. Speaking of game engines, Ty, let's quickly talk about this. It's not a huge thing. Oh. False on Pete. Oh. Paris Lily's here to correct the record. Please correct us, sir. If it's false on Pete, then who was the reason why this released? Because me personally, I think they should not have released it. Or if they had released it, they should have delayed it many years, gotten it clean before they did. So whoever was in place, that's why I'm like, that's my smoke for it. But to the talk, the point of the engines talk, id has come out, because we really discussed. So it was Harvey Smith that released it. Understood. To the engine talk that we were discussing earlier, since all that happened, where people are worried, the engine engineers and the engine the id Tech engine engineers have been let go. The brain trust at id Tech has come out and said, hey, no worries here. Right, we are not going the way of Unreal Engine 5. Now, when they said this, like, I wonder if it was said as a pejorative, because people love Unreal Engine 5. Shout out to Infinite Umbra over here, right? People love that, but they literally came out on Front Street and be like, "No worries here. We are still a powerhouse of id Tech. We are not moving to Unreal Engine 5," which made me go, "Yay!" But afterwards, I'm just like, that's a very, very odd headline to drop, while everybody else is moving to Unreal. What do you think, Ty? Should they move to Unreal? Because to your point, the business realities means you move to Unreal, you get things done faster. Should they move to Unreal so they can release Doom fast? Or do you think that it's a good idea they still stay with it?
No, I think it's good that they stay with id Tech, simply because they already know the technology, and I think the guys at the Wolfenstein dev, what they call again?
Yeah, Machine Games.
Machine Games. I believe like they will work together. So I don't really see a situation where it makes sense to jump to Unreal. I mean, you could if you wanted to, but I think there's enough there to say that you don't need to make that transition.
See, my thing is, and I've said this, and people on this show have heard me say this a lot. id Tech is probably one of the only engines that is performant enough, robust enough that if they start putting some retail energy into it, it could one day be a competitor to Unreal. So if you minimize it and go to Unreal, you've basically given up the ghost. This engine is one of the greatest engines out there. It makes every game run insanely well. Now, obviously, it has been optimized for purpose, but every time they use it and every time they add more to it, it still runs 100 and plus frames on a Steam Deck. And if you know the technology, you know that is super impressive. Like Doom was the first game I could get running over 30 frames with ray tracing on a Steam Deck. Impossible with any other engine. I'm sorry, right? But of course, they are not ready for retail. Like if you were to put them side by side in retail right now against Unreal, there's no way they'd be there, because Unreal has had years and years and years of retail consumers, other developers adding ideas to it, instruction sets being created for it, and all of that. But I think it's great that they continue to keep and cultivate this engine. I just hope that one day Microsoft will see that this engine is also worthy, and maybe they add it to PlayFab. They're already their online cloud offering for development. They have everything you need to build a game except an engine. I say add id Tech to that, right? Start maturing it. Start adding instructions. Start treating it like you would treat Unreal Engine, and one day it could become competitive, right? I think they should be able to do that. But yes, they are not quitting id Tech, and I, for one, am very, very, very excited because of that. So there's that. We're moving on. Please go ahead. You had something?
No, I was. It's not really as relevant to this, but it is about id, which is that they're apparently from the article that they're incubating their next game, and I do wonder, because Dark Ages didn't seem to do maybe as good as Xbox thought it was going to do for whatever reason. And I was thinking, I did hear that they were making some kind of other games, like a John Wick style game, and et cetera, et cetera. And I was wondering, is that maybe the right step for them to do, to actually not make it a sequel to Doom, but actually make a new IP? Now, I'm not a id fan, I'm not even a Doom fan, so I can't really say what they should or what they shouldn't do. But like, for the people out there who are fans of Doom, and they've seen what happened with Dark Ages, would they prefer it to try to handle something new and different? Or is it a situation where it's like, no, we want more Doom?
So the thing with Doom, and like you said, you don't really play Doom much, but like I will tell you, the thing with Doom is we never get more Doom. That's the hilarious part about it. And that's, I think, why the Dark Ages didn't do as good. Because there are 3 Dooms, right? There's the remake Doom, and I'm talking about the modern Doom. Right? There's the remake Doom, there's the Eternal Doom, and there's the Dark Ages Doom. Each of them are completely different. If you don't know Doom, you think they're all Doom, and the next one and the next one. Their gameplay elements are different. The things they emphasize are different. So drastic that if you talk to Doom fans, you either like the first and the third, or you like the second. Like and I both commend them, and I also criticize them for doing this, because this is a AAA monster budget game, right? And every time it comes out, the fundamentals of it are completely different. Even though the last one was a huge hit, right? I commend them because it's like everyone would lean on, hey, that worked, we're just going to continue doing it. These guys don't do that. They, even though the last one was a huge success, they go, let's rethink it. Let's, and instead of continuing the same fundamental gameplay elements and maybe maturing those, they just go on off the deep path and do something completely different, which then surprises and delights people again. But the original fans that like the first one then go, I didn't like that. I didn't like that you changed it. And then the third one came around and the same thing happened again. They changed it 3 times, right? And genuinely, I think that's probably why the Dark Ages didn't hit the zeitgeist that it should have. I think from a storytelling perspective, they have matured that thing to a place where it almost is Halo in its lore and scale and scope. They used to barely tell a story. Now it's really awesome, but people come there to that IP for that visceral combat, that and say what you will. If you have played these games, it's because, like, if you've played the Doom games and you've enjoyed them, I bet if I ask you if you like all three, you'll say you like one versus the other, because those changes have changed enough for people. For me personally, the Dark Ages, the latest one, I didn't like the sections where you were on the like in the pterodactyl or whatever, like flying, and it felt very non-dynamic. It felt locked in, right? You were on rails, and it kind of lost me a little bit. And some people didn't like that, where other people like loved that stuff, right? Some people loved the mech stuff. Other people didn't like the mech stuff, right? So I feel like the benefit of that IP in that studio also tends to be their detriment, because they love to experiment, even when they have found a formula that works, that a lot of people like. They're not afraid to just throw that formula away and start again and try something else. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, that may bring criticism, and I think that's righteous criticism, but I do commend them in a world where corporate entities and corporate interests are so that you are not allowed to do whatever the hell you want, right? You do what works. And these guys still have the bold vision to try something new from time to time. I think that's commendable. So that's it. That's how I feel. So yes, needless to say, let us move forward. A lot of slander in the chat, a lot of heated debate. I love it. Keep it going. Keep it up above board. I appreciate y'all. If you have any questions, cue it up, and we'll make sure we try our best to answer it. But before we get out of here completely, we have about an hour still to go. But I do want to talk about your thoughts on Gamescom, what we're potentially going to see there, because we're very, very close to that time frame now. But before we get there, I will ask, please, if you haven't done so, please hit that like button. Please subscribe. Please let folks know we are here. We are working towards our goal of getting to PAX West. So any of these and all of the chats, whether small or large, that you offer us is always very appreciated. So thank you guys for your continued support. So this is an interesting one that I saw from the great Idle Sloth, and I wanted to bring this to your attention because you have said that, hey, this is, you're talking about business moves and realities and what they should be doing. Do you agree with this move? It looks like they have stopped showing logos for new ones, for the new games. This is a new environment. This came out recently, September 29th. It's coming out. Before, it showed all of it. Now it only shows that. What do you think of this?
My issue, a lot of, like, when Xbox was going full third party or transition towards dropping the games everywhere, I had an issue with just the way they were doing it. The Indiana Jones one more thing, dropping. I think when Pentiment was released on PlayStation, it had more features than the Xbox one. Then they updated the Xbox version. Maybe it was 120 frames or something like that. It was these little things, like the details matter. There is no reason why in your showcase you would show everyone, like it's multi-platform, sure. I mean, on Sony Showcase, Nintendo Showcase, it's multi-platform, but they just show their own logos. So for them to show everyone's logos, it never made sense to me. As like, what was the purpose? Like, what were you trying to convey with this? What were you trying to do? Was Sony going to do something nice for you? Was Nintendo going to do something nice for you? And it kind of showed me that Xbox kind of just lost this competitive edge, and they were kind of moving towards more of a it's that saying where people say, like, it wasn't Xbox that purchased Activision, it was ABK that purchased Xbox instead, right?
Now you're talking Everborn. Stop it. Oh,
yeah,
man.
It just didn't make sense to me. The new way of doing things, the Series X, PC, and cloud, perfect. That's where it should be. It doesn't matter if your game is multi-platform. And I've said this a few times, but like, have some respect for the people who've been loyal to your platform since day one. Understand that they are hardcore, and while this doesn't really change anything, what it does is it kind of throws it throws it out their face, and it's maybe to them they might find it a bit insulting. And the people who are really looking at these things, these Xbox showcases, they are your core fans primarily. So how about you just don't do it. So the changes to me makes 100% sense, and I think going forward, this is what it should be. It should just be on the Xbox YouTube channel. It should just be Xbox logos. On the actual channel of the of the game, so Minecraft Dungeons 2, for example, I think it's okay to probably show more logos, right? It's its own little separate thing. I mean, maybe even that's a bit controversial, but ultimately I completely agree with this change, and I think it makes perfect sense.
Okay. So and we'll add to that, right? So and that's the different one. We'll add to that. So there's this one, and then there's no, wrong one here. There's I'll pop it up while we talk about it. There's the idea that they have now also removed. There it is. They've stopped sharing digital sales data and all that with Circana and a few others. Do you think that too is a good move?
Yeah, 100%.
Okay, explain why.
When this came out, and I saw some people complaining on Reddit. I think someone even on Reddit said something like, this proves that Game Pass was a financial black hole, etc., etc. The people who care about these data points are primarily just, I feel like it's console warrior fans, and that's about it. When it comes to the shareholders, they don't necessarily care that one specific game is doing X, Y, Z. What they care about more is the revenue that Xbox is making and its profit margins as a whole. And it doesn't really give you much details, because what made sense 20 years ago isn't what made sense today. And back then it was sales. But now we have these things called microtransactions, right? Which basically, like what makes more money? A free-to-play game that doesn't have a sale but has microtransactions, you make like $1 billion off that, right? Or a game that just maybe sold like 700K. Like the numbers are so skewed, and it doesn't tell the full picture. And for Xbox in particular, because Game Pass makes up 25, maybe 18 to 25% of their total revenue, because there is a chargeback from the studios for the first party games. And because Xbox is, and obviously because they're getting third party games onto the subscription services that they've paid for, the sales data never captures that information. Therefore, the information is incomplete. And because it's incomplete, what it allows is for people with malicious intent to then take that information and then talk about narratives that makes Xbox look bad or whatever it is. And at that point, you don't really need that energy. So just get rid of it.
That is probably the explanation you just gave is exactly the reason why I think this is a bad idea. And I'll tell you why. Because today, we have places where they don't share data, and we have places where they do share data, right? Until now, they were sharing this data, the digital data and all that with Circana and all of that, right? Now they're stopping that. But they've stopped sharing hardware data with most of these places. They've stopped sharing Game Pass data with most of these places. Do we stop getting false Game Pass and sales data? Of course not. They extrapolate. They use third-party the tools. They use like the super accurate Steam charts to make determinations. It won't stop because you stop giving them data. What will start now is more false BS will now be spread everywhere because you're not providing any real data. This doesn't stop the crap. This just permeates the crap even further, because now there's no real data to go back on. And I hear you on the idea that, hey, this is just used for that talking point and it just breeds negativity. It's not necessary. But in the areas they stopped sharing data a long time ago, that's not stopped that narrative from happening. It's just festered in those places. Now you want that everywhere. I think that's a little bad.
But you see, it was easier to discredit that information because now, for example, if you were to say, Gears of War only sold 1 million, for example, right?
Yeah.
Either when it comes out, they have that 1 million number to say the game flopped, the game failed. Whereas they haven't considered the Game Pass, and players, etc., how Microsoft has attributed all these numbers to it. If you get rid of the Gears of War numbers, then everyone's just guessing. And because you're guessing, I could just discredit you like easier. It's easy. Like the playing field is different, because on the other side, you have a number that is misrepresenting the information, but at least you have a number that is skewing the information. So, let's say I'm arguing somebody about this, they at least have something. I have nothing to kind of come back that way.
So if I understand this correctly, you're saying that the reason why it's not bad is because since there's no official data, no one can be right.
Exactly. It's easy for me to discredit your information because all you're doing is speculating. Because you can say, well, Alina reports 2 million sales. Then I'll go find my own report that says no, it was 4 million sales. And because these are all guesses, and for example, if you said Alina reports is I think they call Alina. Oh, this is how they like this is what they said. Then I'll say, yeah, but didn't we find out a while ago that they get these numbers based on how many people are reviewing the game?
Because they're not facts.
Yeah. So now we just both there's nothing. Like if that's the best you got, then the argument's already lost. Whereas if you did have some concrete data, like Gears of War E, they sold 1 million players. I have 1 million sales. That's not a great a franchise, right? At least maybe in the first
and you can't wiggle your way out of it because there's some numbers that are factual that
Xbox for me to kind of combat that. So what Xbox can actually do here is pretty simple. It's the same thing that happened with GTA when that somebody said that hey, no one is pre-ordering the Xbox version. Xbox can actually come out and say that's a lie, and they'll just leave it as that, and that's it.
And then people will go prove it
against the corporation who has the numbers.
Yeah. Okay. I see that. Like my initial assertion was like it hasn't stopped any of this BS narratives anyway. It's just going to continue the BS narratives. But I guess what you're saying is they want the BS narratives because then everyone knows it's BS rather than potential data that then makes them look bad. I'll give you that. Okay. Okay. So I do see that one is more of a like I can see why that would be useful. I do expect, though, that will make those places where those conversations are had a lot more tumultuous and aggressive. You recognize that, right? Everyone now has their own data now because there's no official source.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. So I take that point because I think it is an interesting point. But I think at that point now we're just talking about console war kind of numbers. And
but this is not console war necessarily, right? Yes, I hear you. Console wars definitely play a part and they use that and all that. But Circana does not feed console wars only, right? They feed a lot of people. They feed a lot of other organizations, right? Even because casual organizations that need to know whether this business is doing healthy or not are fed by these numbers. So if these numbers are in a casual way saying, well, Sony is like ruling the roost and Microsoft isn't doing much, they don't pay any further attention but what these people who purport to aggregate the data say. So if you're not giving Circana the data, Circana it's in Circana's best interest to continue to like permeate the prevailing narrative that you guys still don't do at all and that the only market belongs to the other guys. You know what I'm saying? Like this would be good if nobody gave Circana data. If you're not, now you'll be the one that'll be the butt.
But I think Take-Two doesn't give Circana data, and neither does Nintendo, right? and when I was going back and forth with people on Reddit about this, they mentioned that Nintendo gives their data in their financial reports. I said, well, Nintendo needs to give that data because one, for every Switch or console that they sell, they actually make money. So that is a tangible number that the shareholders would like. Nintendo's sales primarily, we can argue, primarily come from their first party games. So that is something that the shareholders would want. But because Xbox's business is so diverse, it's microtransactions, it's sales, it's Game Pass. There's a lot of moving parts here that just to give you the sales numbers would never give you the accurate story here. So for Nintendo, it makes sense. For Xbox, it doesn't make sense. For Sony, you could even argue probably doesn't even make that much sense. I mentioned to someone just recently that I believe 51% of Sony's revenue comes from 10 live service games, right?
Many of them which were owned by Microsoft, oddly enough. Yes.
And some of those games are free to play. So how does Sony giving you a sales number tell you about their business when Fortnite is like the revenue driver, when Minecraft is the revenue driver, when MLB The Show is a revenue driver? Because MLB The Show can sell 2 million and some other game can sell 3 million, but MLB The Show has microtransactions, so it probably makes more money overall. MLB The Show is a game that is it's a yearly sequel game, so the cost of development isn't that high probably because you're just taking the foundation and just building on top of it, so it's probably more profitable. Miles Morales is a game that was extremely profitable for Sony because they just used the Spider-Man 1 tech just to build upon that. So the numbers don't really tell you the full story, and then the question that becomes, well, who wants these numbers and why? The numbers are really there for the shareholders, and they don't really care about, okay, well, this game, Fortnite is doing this, whatever it is. They just say, what is the revenue for the year? And what is the profitability for the year? That is the number we care about, 3D. Okay, God of War failed, but apparently, this game called Helldivers 2 did really, really well, and then that made up the margin. Okay, cool. Margin's made up. We're happy more or less. But when people start on the details, this is more of a console player. This is more of a, a hardcore player who's trying to use it for some kind of debate, or, Xbox sucks, PlayStation sucks. They're not relevant to Sony's story. These numbers are primarily for shareholders.
I see your point. I would argue that Circana has more customers than just that. But by and large, because there is poisoning in the well, I do see why they made this decision. In hindsight, I see it. We'll see where this falls, because I feel like we haven't seen the end of all of this yet. We haven't seen what this will turn into. This is a fresh turn. How will Circana and all the others adapt to this new paradigm and this reality? I contend that it will bring more of that kind of negative energy. But hey, maybe I was talking to some folks in the Discord. They were like, hey, maybe it could be a 1-2 punch of, look, we will no longer release our data like that, and we will also not allow people to just walk all over us as they have been before, right? As far as they've as we know, Sony and Nintendo are very strict in how they are perceived in the market, and if you don't perceive them in a way they appreciate, they will blacklist you. Microsoft has never really done that. So maybe they take a more of an aggressive stance, and that will quell the potential storm. But we'll see. We shall see. Right now, I'm not so sure. So I have one last story I want to talk about, and then we'll get all into Gamescom before we get out of here. And that last story, of course, is Grand Theft Auto. Right? It is the big monster story that's all over the place. I'm sure you've heard of all the leaks of Grand Theft Auto out there right now. Am I wrong? Right? Yes. And of course, we're also talking about how much Grand Theft Auto has already made, even though none of you who have pre-ordered has even seen gameplay. You haven't seen the game. You don't know what the game looks like, but it's already made, it's already sold 4.38 million copies in pre-orders alone. And by and large, most of that is the $100 edition. And as Idle Sloth mentions here in the in his post, 77% of that is on PlayStation, and 23% of that is on Xbox. Xbox just crossed 1 million sales, with PlayStation hitting 3.38 million, and Strauss talking about all of that. What do you think about this game? And obviously, all the rumors and all the leaks that are out now. There's a dude out there who basically beat it already, put a bunch of information out there. I'll double the story and say that person is now they're on the hunt for him. There's subpoenas flying all over the place. Rockstar is subpoenaing Discord and Microsoft to try and get information on the person who's been leaking all of their stuff. What do you think, Ty? Is GTA about to ruin the world, or is this just all par for the course for what's going to be the next 10 great years of GTA? What do you think?
The first thing here is that this guy who chose to leak the gameplay. I just don't
every part of it's kind of wild, right? Crazy.
I don't know why? What was the and then he's making money of it as well. It's you're playing a very dangerous game, and you're 99% probably gonna get caught. So I don't know what you're hoping to achieve here. I expect he will get caught. I don't see Rockstar allowing this to just fly. I don't even mean fly. I mean they're gonna definitely catch you, and there's gonna be repercussions here. So that's the first thing. The second thing about the way the numbers skewed, I think PlayStation was 75% or 77% majority.
77 to 23, yeah.
Which I think I kind of aligns with the way the console market is based. I do wonder if it's going to increase on the PlayStation side, because a lot of the right now, if we're talking about pre-orders, that's generally a hardcore market. Whereas as soon as the game actually comes out, then the casuals come out, right, and they're gonna be buy a console, and PlayStation has the marketing rights apparently. So I do think that number is gonna get a bit.
Do they have the marketing rights? I had not heard that.
I don't think
I don't think PlayStation has the marketing rights. I had not heard that PlayStation.
Yeah, true. I did we not see a PlayStation controller in one of the trailers?
I'm not sure about that. That doesn't necessarily mean they have marketing rights, though. They could have put a PlayStation in, right? The only one that I see who has marketing rights right now, which a lot of people seem to hate is Netflix.
Which I think is such a smart idea from
I think it's a smart move. It's a smart move. Just so we put it on Front Street, so you know where I'm coming from with it. I've always been a fan of technologically of the GTA franchise. This GTA, I am not buying because it's too expensive. I think that this is a bad precedent that's being set. So I will not be playing this until it's on PC and it's cheaper. It is what it is. I am 10 toes down on it. People have been oh yeah, I am not doing it. I am not going to do it. Nope. I'm sorry?
Is that from a moral point of view? Like
yes.
Morally?
Yes. I could get this. I could buy this, but it sets a standard that becomes super dangerous. Because when this becomes the norm, you're literally disenfranchising millions of gamers, because if you ain't got the money, you ain't playing. My backlog is monstrous. I'm not going to reward you for such ridiculous behavior. Throughout the life cycle of GTA, I bought at least GTA 5. I bought GTA at least 3-4 times on all the various platforms. They've even given it to me for free on PC on a few occasions. Eventually, the game becomes more cost effective to play over its life cycle, which was a long time. So the idea that they're pushing $100, and the $100 edition is the standard edition. The $80 edition is gimped. It is the most egregious bit of corporatism I have ever seen. I'm not buying.
I thought it was so clever.
It's clever from a business perspective, but again, I am the consumer, right? I vote with my wallet, and in this way, I am not buying. I'm just not doing it.
Oh man, I'm pre-ordering that thing, the ultimate edition.
I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. I could. I mean, it's not a financial problem on my part. It isn't, but I'm just not doing it. It's just ridiculous to me. It frustrates me that this is where we are, and people are literally thanking them for giving them millions of dollars before you even see the game.
First of all, I much respect to you for sticking to your guns, because I know a lot of people who talk but they just crumble. So
you haven't even seen the game. You haven't seen it with your eyes, and you're giving them millions of dollars.
Wait. So just to confirm, the game. Let's say the game does come out and it's banging. It's 10 out of 10 everywhere. Generational.
I will play it. I will play it eventually, because it will eventually come to PC. It'll eventually become cost effective. Right? Like I said, over the life cycle of GTA, I've owned it on 360, 5 rather. I've owned it on 360, Xbox One, I owned it on PC, and then eventually, they even started giving it to me for free on Epic Store and all this other stuff, and they released all these various versions, right? So eventually, once the zeitgeist has moved, once it becomes a normal game that the cycle, right now you can go buy GTA for how long you want, right? Yeah. I don't like that idea that, it is the next big game that everybody wants, which is true. The next big game that everybody wants. Everybody's been asking for it. It's like when remember the Team Cherry? I think it's Team Cherry who made that game. The indie game that everybody kept asking for years and years and years, that was going to come day and day on Xbox. Silksong, yeah. It's like there was a time where every single event was Silksong when. That's all you see in the chats. You remember this? There was a time where it doesn't matter. It was an Xbox show, a PlayStation show, a Nintendo show, Silksong when. So then what does Team Cherry do? Well, this game is now $80. Yeah, come on. You're pimping people's excitement.
But hold on a second. Would you say Mario, because GTA is gonna be $80, $80, right? But Mario Kart is also $80, right? Would you? Yes.
And myself and shout out to MJ Dark. He's in the chat or somewhere. I gave Mario Kart a lot of smoke for that. Why? Because when it came out, guess what was also out? Forza Horizon, which was better than it in every way, and it didn't command a $80 price. Get the heck out of here. And Mario, for their best, to their credit, right? You saw it come out. But realistically, it came out for a much more cost-effective price because it was bundled into the thing. Only people who chose to buy it independently paid that cost. And I know a lot of people did. That is your choice. But they gave you a more cost-effective option. And by the way, 2 weeks after that game came out, it was $40 on Woot. And we all know Nintendo controls every aspect of their game. So if they didn't want it to be $40 on Woot, it would not have been. Right? So even they hedged their bets a tiny bit.
So I think this is a question of like, how do people value, games? Do they value it based on how much the game costs to make, or do they value the game, just the art itself? And I think you value it based on how much the game costs to make, right? Then at this point, then you would probably say GTA might be the most expensive game ever made.
Oh so no doubt. Yes,
I think
it cost them like $2 billion to make or something like that.
I would say
ridiculous number like that. Yeah.
Mario Kart comes nowhere close to probably the price tag of GTA. So therefore, if somebody's willing to get Mario Kart, then I'm like, yeah, you gotta get GTA because what you're getting, at least the base game, is monumental in compared to what Mario Kart is going to give you in that sense. And then you're gonna end up buying DLCs for Mario Kart potentially, which is gonna cost a good bit. And then the 100th edition of GTA is probably surpasses Mario Kart and its DLC offerings in that case.
Well, so I'm not comparing Mario Kart to GTA. I'm comparing $100 price game, period. The digital bits don't cost more. The ones and zeros don't cost more.
Do you think of it this way, that like the base game itself is the base game, right? And the ultimate part,
but the base game itself even has limited, like it limits things. Things that were in GTA 5 are missing from the base game in 6 unless you buy the $100 edition. So the base game technically is GTA. Yeah. So like, for example, you could go into what do you call it? If I'm mistaken, chat, please correct me. You could go into it when you're in like a race, or when you're being chased by cops. You could go to like machine shops and change the color of your car to escape police, things like that. Those places, like certain places that were part and parcel of the base game of GTA 5, now is only included in the $100 edition. If you don't buy that $100 edition, you don't have those base features, right? So it makes me go, the base game, because the last iteration of the game had those things. Now those things are in the $100 edition. So it makes the $100 the base game.
From my understanding, what I believe there was is that some garages are like locked off, and these were like for the premium people. But I don't really mind, like, I guess it's tricky because the way I would look at it is that they're making this game, and they might have said, okay, you know what, here's an additional budget or whatever it is to make extra content that we want to sell for the ultimate edition. And if that's what it is, then I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing, as long as the base game.
And let me be clear. Let me be absolutely clear to you and the chat. I am not here grabbing pitchforks saying, hey, who's going to join me? I'm not. Absolutely not. You have not heard me be one-man band on socials like, hey, boycott. No. I'm telling you what I am doing. That does not mean, this is not me challenging you and the fact that you've already made your day one purchase. This is not me telling you you're an idiot. No, absolutely not. Gaming is an inherently expensive art form. People spend unnecessary money left and right. My library is 2,000 games deep, and I probably haven't played like 40% of that. I played a lot of them, but not 40% of that, right? So we all do what we do. I'm just telling you how I feel about this specific thing. Doesn't mean you should take my word and go do that. Absolutely not. You enjoy your game. I got no issues with it. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. But for me, when they made this decision, I was like, nah, I'm not doing it. Right. This is actually a reason why I bought very few $70 games. Very few. I don't like, the more they climb, the more I go, nope. Like, I think I may have bought maybe 2 or 3 games on my PlayStation because of that standard they're setting.
So you just have like a cutoff point for video games.
Yes.
Regardless of how much
I have a cutoff point for video games in general. And because I live in a world where like that price tag is only relevant for the first 6 months of its life. Why am I an idiot? Like me personally, right? I wait, and then it no longer like reaches that ire, and then I can buy it later, or I could. There's so many other games that there's always something busy that's going on. I do not need to pay for $100 for this game when in a year, 2 years, it'll be considerably less, and they'll be begging you to play it at that point, or they'll be different, Yeah. So again, this is not me going, oh, you shouldn't be whatever. No, I'm telling you, this is my process. Right, I have always had a cutoff for games. When they went to 60 was cool. 70, I was like, 80, I'm like, not doing it, And 100, yeah, you can go, words that I'm not gonna use. So that's just me.
Yeah, and I think I get where you're coming from. I think most people will I think a lot of people will kind of see that point of view as well. I think for me, there is a balance between like, what is the creative part of it, that like, okay, well, this game doesn't matter how much it costs, it's gonna give you great levels of enjoyment, so I'm going to purchase it. And there's an element like, for me, I would say if a game does cost a lot to make and it's an enjoyable game and it's a unique experience, I am willing to go above and beyond 60, 70, 80. Listen, if GTA is the game that people think it's going to be, I would have been happy to pay 120. And I know that sounds like wow to some people, sure, but like if it's going to give me that experience that is going to be like unique, like I could look at it this way. Back in the days when Final Fantasy first came out, the PlayStation 1, and that was like the first AAA blockbuster kind of game. Like, how much would you be willing to pay to have that experience for the first time? Same thing for Ocarina of Time, same thing for Mario 64. I think I would have been willing to pay a good bit just to get that experience. So I see
and for me, this might be me being a graybeard talking, and people who watch the show know this. Like, when Everborn and I start talking about games we're playing, like, we'll end up going an hour on this game you've never heard of that ended up costing us $8 on some game site. We bought Soldiers, which had come out 3 years before we actually even discovered it, and the game was literally 83 cents in the store. And Everborn and I purchased it. He put over 300 hours in it. I put hundreds of hours into the game. We had so much enjoyment. I don't equate like quadruple A build with, that must equal money, right? For me, Vampire Survivors is one of the greatest game genres made in the modern history, because they keep iterating and new ones keep adding to them. How much development time goes into Vampire Survivor likes, right? And it's not to say that AAA games are not worthy or shouldn't be worthy. It's, for me, it's just to say that the line of money spent doesn't equal greatness automatically, right? You can literally come up with a great, brilliant idea, have Balatro, which is just a card game, and I hate card games. I've never liked card games, and I played that game for a whole year. Like, it was on my phone, it was on my handheld, it was everywhere, right? Because that exists, I cannot continue down the step ladder of, well, they put more money in it, so it's got to be amazing. We shall see.
Yeah, no,
right? That's just me.
I agree with that. And yeah, you're right. There is a lot of like great games out there that don't cost 70, 60, 50. So how about I just play those games first, and then when your game finally drops down in sale,
thank you. And by and large, most of the time when that happens, that'll be also with all the patches that you'd hear complaints about day one. It'll be cheaper and it'll be more complete, and it'll be a better game to play for all. This is why I move how I move. It is what it is. But that's, again, not to say, oh, you suck for going to buy day one. I wish you had at least seen the footage first before you went and paid for it. But I'm not giving you any small if you so chose to pay for the pre-order. It is what it is, But yes, that's how I will move. So it is. So it is what it is. So I say all this to say, when that game comes out, inevitably, you will most likely need to have Slow-Mo Backslap or the great Pixel Bit G or somebody from our community come on and talk about their experience, because I will not buy it on principle, and Everborn Saga does not care about GTA. He never has. I tried to get him to play GTA 5. I literally gifted it to him. He rejected the gift. So here we are.
I'm not crazy about GTA myself, to be honest with you. But, I must say I'm getting caught up in the hype because I still haven't pre-ordered it. So I want to wait till I see more gameplay features. But I'm pretty sure I'm going to purchase it because it's one of those games where I want to experience it. I want to have my own thoughts on it. Is it a bad game? Is it a good game? Let's say the game sucks. It sucks, but I want to be able to say like, I played the game and it does suck.
Yeah. So that's actually why I gifted it to Everborn. Whether you like it or you don't, GTA 5, much like I was saying with all these other games we're talking about, GTA 5 is one of the greatest games ever made from a technical perspective. Like, one of the greatest games ever made. So too is Red Dead Redemption, right? So that's why I gifted it to him. Like, whether you like the subject matter and what they do or not, from a technical perspective, and we are technologists on this show, and we talk about the speeds and feeds, it is worth seeing for yourself. I just feel like what they're doing from a monetary business perspective is a bit more egregious than I can handle. Right. So eventually, when it comes down to normal levels and people have stopped talking about it, then you'll hear probably what I think about it, because that's when I'll play it. It is what it is.
Gotcha.
Yes. So once again, thank you all so much for continuing to rock with us. We'll get into final gaming talks, then we'll get out of here. Quick super chat from the great Pixel Bit G. $5 super chat. He says PlayStation started this with Hogwarts, made a shop exclusive. Nasty work, but there's a precedent. Absolutely. They didn't even only make a shop exclusive. They also made a mission exclusive as well. You could go to like Azkaban prison only on the PlayStation version. You couldn't go on any other version. They specifically did that to the point where people were like, "Oh, isn't this just a PlayStation game?" I get it from a business perspective. I do. But I don't reward people for I try not to reward companies for doing anti-consumer things like fooling people, stuff like that. I'm not a fan of stuff like that. So it is what it is. To each his own, as it were. All right. So once again, we really, really appreciate y'all as continuing to rock with us as you do. Now it's time to get into some of this gaming talk because I know people want to talk about games. We'll talk about all the stuff that's going on. GTA is upon us, but so too is Gamescom. And unfortunately, while I won't be going to Gamescom this year, I will be going to PAX West. PAX West tends to be more of an indie kind of showcase where you'll get some big stuff there as well, but you tend to get a lot of indie stuff. Like this is a photo from PAX West. This is just my excuse to go to Seattle for the first time. I hadn't had a chance to go to Seattle, so myself and Lucius and a few other folks in the community, we will be on boots on the ground in PAX West, and that'll be from September 3rd to well, I'll be leaving from September 3rd. And I'll be back on that Monday. So that weekend, boots on ground, we'll be talking to people, we'll be getting interviews, this, that, and the third. But what everyone is excited about is the stuff that's coming to Gamescom. Now, we talk heavily about Xbox here, right? We talk heavily about, because we love Xbox and we love all these games as well. But Xbox is actually unusually exciting in this time because not only are they going to be there, like they've been there year after year, but the rumor and speculations, they're dropping some interesting games. It sounded to me or to people that they were going to release potentially one or two, depending on the rumor. What was it? Recent IPs that are getting sequels. And people have been speculating all over the place. In the Discord, we put it into AI. AI thinks it's actually let me see if I can find what AI said when I put it into AI, because we were talking about it because they were talking about games that were the way the rumor like pieced it together. It seemed like you could basically understand almost get it if you really wanted. And AI seems to suggest Killer Instinct, Quantum Break, Ori, Rise, Son of Rome, Sunset Overdrive, which that one is that's a rare, I don't know about that one, and then Recore and Pentiment. Those are the potential. Hey, if you're going to do a sequel, this is what you should do. Mine, of course, as I've already told you, because I'm a big Remedy guy, would be Quantum Break. I would love that. So, Ty, what do you think, man? I know the rumors are out there, speculations out there. They might be releasing a sequel to a new game, to a storied franchise.
Yeah.
What would you want it to be? What do you think it is?
I think a good play here would be Rise 2. Not because the game necessarily sold. The first game sold amazingly well. So financially, you could make an argument that this shouldn't. However, I do think the idea of what we saw back then, which was apparently Rise was supposed to be like similar to Assassin's Creed, where you do different cultural aspects. So it could be Vikings, it could be, Egyptian. And I think that's such a fantastic idea. And I think what Rise would do, or like a Rise 2 game would do, is it will kind of tick off this box that Xbox doesn't really have when it comes to a God of War like game, which I was thinking Hellblade 2 was supposed to kind of do. So a Rise 2 game, to me, sounds fantastic. And I'm almost sure a Rise 2 game will be more successful than the first Rise game. I don't know this one. Did Rise 1 come out on Steam?
Eventually it did, but Rise was but it was big on Xbox, right? And actually, to your point, Rise was very underrated. People who played it loved it. It was stuck at the 700. I think it was 800p or something. It was downclocked on the One X when it first came out, or the Xbox One when it first came out. But even now, it still plays super well. If I recall the smoke for it correctly, and I think it was righteous, I even felt it. Eventually, the combat became one note, like over and over and over again. It never matured over the play, right? And to a callback to what we were talking about with engines, that was the Cry engine. Amazing engine. Oh my God, Crysis kicked butt on that, right? So, they don't own the IP, but they do own the publishing rights. So it could be a relationship where they work that out. So at least the AI says it could be Rise and or Recore and all these other things. I want it to be Quantum Break because I want Remedy to get their Remedyverse back. That's what I want. But that's just me.
So I would say I think Quantum Break is a good shot because I think that game is severely underrated as well. I don't think it got as much. Like the sale should have been way more. And I think it kind of.
But that's just Remedy's problem, man. Remedy makes insane games that nobody plays.
But the thing is, I look at Quantum Break and I think Quantum Break should definitely sell way well more than Alan Wake for some reason. It just seems more action orientated. The time abilities. It looks cool, right? I wouldn't mind Quantum Break 2. The problem is, I think Remedy is quite full, they got their hands full at the moment. They're making the Max Payne remakes. They're making so I don't really see that happening unless Xbox has the rights to it, and then they
do have the rights to it. Yeah, they own
Quantum
the IP. Microsoft owns it. And they would love it back. Remedy has talked about this. Allow me to geek for a quick moment because I'm a big Remedy fan. They are building their own cinematic universe. Control, Max Payne, Quantum Break, Alan Wake, they all tie together. Control, and then the latest DLCs, give you dribs and drabs where they're kind of bringing the universes together. Alan Wake 2, the detective that's in Alan Wake 2, he is Max Payne in all but name. They can't use it because now Take-Two owns that IP, right? So they gave them, but they're bringing their universe back together. And like obviously Take-Two probably it may not be amenable, but Microsoft is probably very amenable. They're the ones that are giving their studios away, but they're asking for games to come back. If you work the conversation with Remedy where you give them a bit more of their IP back, because I think they want that thing, right? Or you work with them. They would be. I expect they would be happy to make another one of those games. They have said it as much before. Although you're not wrong that in the here and now, the world that we're talking about, they got their hands full with many games going on.
They do, yeah.
Okay, so if this were to happen, I would imagine it would happen with supervision from them, but being executed by maybe another studio. I don't know. This is just me spitballing, telling you what I want that probably won't happen. I want them to get that back.
Yeah, I think Rise and Quantum Break is a really good shout. And somebody mentioned Killer Instinct as a game that could potentially show up, and I just think
another one.
Like, please don't let it be Killer Instinct. I don't.
Why? You're not a fan of the IP?
I don't think it's not fun. I loved the game when I was younger. I think the issue is, I think Xbox needs to make games that are gonna draw people into their ecosystem. I don't think Killer Instinct is going to make anyone from a Nintendo, PlayStation point of view look towards Xbox. You can make a Killer Instinct game, yeah, sure. I just don't think. I just think if you had a choice to make Killer Instinct or to make a Rise 2 instead or a Quantum Break 2 instead, that is the one you would go for. Killer Instinct is a game that probably, it does well as a multi-platform game, probably because fighting fans are everywhere. They're on PC, they're on PlayStation, etc., etc.
And I wasn't planning on bringing the story up because we are getting out of time, but I will disagree with you because of this story right here. For a long time, PlayStation has been cultivating fighting fans, but that success is now biting them in the butt because fighting fans are saying, "Now we don't like the PlayStation." They are leaving PlayStation in favor of Xbox because the console has not been working well when they're using it for fighing games. So this story, it's kind of wild. I sent this to you as well. We didn't talk about it because we didn't have time. But this is in a situation where PlayStation succeeded, right? They succeeded in getting fighting games only on PlayStation. If you're a fighting fan, you're not on Xbox. You're basically on PlayStation because that's where fighting games live, right? But now, all these fighting tournaments and whatnot, who then use PlayStation, Evo included, who was owned by PlayStation, right? Who use PlayStation as the default, are now going, nope. The what do they say? The console was not engineered well enough for fighting games. Their ports are too close to the heat. So now when you're playing, the USB ports are overheating and exploding and controllers are dropping. They literally say in this article that the Xbox was better engineered for fighting games. Wild.
That's something. That is something. I guess what I'll say to that story is if Xbox wants to, release a Killer Instinct game, I think they would need to do it, but they would need to cultivate more of the fighting game audience fans. So I think maybe having multiple fighting games that are exclusive might then draw them in. I kind of look at it the same way how I say, for example, Xbox is the shooter box and also maybe the RPG box, right? And Nintendo is the family-friendly platform box. If Nintendo was to make,
but all that is perception, right? Because everything you've said here, I don't disagree with any of that. But they all have everything, and Nintendo has hentai. But somehow it's the family box.
Yeah, no, true, very true. It's more this idea of like, for example, like Sony's, like let's say Sony wants to make, they want to get more into platform gaming. Like, for example, Astro Bot to me would sell more on the Switch 2 and Switch than it would on PlayStation. So if you want to cultivate that audience, that platform audience, or to kind of drag people from Nintendo to your platform, you can't have one game. You need more platform games.
It needs to be a constant flooding to convince people, because that's how they convince people the opposite way, right? They stop putting games on there, and then people eventually went, oh, I guess those games aren't there anymore, right? So if you want to convince them the other way, they need to keep dropping interesting games there to then convince people that, oh, there are fighting games there.
Agreed.
Yes, but I would dislike Killer Instinct if it came back the same way it came back before. It was good, but it didn't move the ball in a big way. It, like the last Killer Instinct, I enjoyed the heck out of it, but it was modernizing the Killer Instinct you knew, which was great. And it did what it did then. But to your point, it didn't move the needle. If they were to do a Killer Instinct, I want them to put balls to the wall, stop with the cell shading, go for a different art style, go really different. Show people, kind of like how Tekken went from, oh, we're just a fighting game, to now we're really like putting the display, the graphics on the screen, and we're showing you our mature next gen version and all that. They could pull it off if they really put some interest on it, right? I don't want it to come back looking like the Double Helix version. Not to say that the Double Helix version was bad, because it was good for its time. But to your point, in order to move the ball forward, they have to slap on the floor and say, hey, this is what we're doing, right? And that requires something visually stunning. So I'm looking, if they do that, I want them to visually bring something interesting to the game.
Would you be happy with Iron Galaxy making it?
Iron Galaxy kicked butt when they were doing it, right? They knew what they were doing from the bones of the game. So as long as they get a really interesting, great art style, I think the Iron Galaxy could kick butt and continue doing it. Double Helix started it. Iron Galaxy did a great job keeping it going. Yeah.
I was going back and forth with I think it was Pixel on this as well. If Iron Galaxy is making it, I think fine, sure. I would more look towards maybe a Japanese developer that has a higher pedigree in making fighting games. Like I would trust maybe
like
Capcom
Platinum?
more. Capcom, Bandai Namco, like these guys who made Soul Calibur 2, they made Street Fighter, like even a NetherRealm studio. And that's not to really disparage Iron Galaxy. It's just, I think, there's a risk situation here now where it's like, okay, if we're going to make a Killer Instinct game, this can't be a 7.5 Metacritic out of game. It can't be an 8 out of 10. It needs to be at the same level as a Street Fighter, where everyone say, yo, Street Fighter is a 92 Metacritic. Yo, this game is similar as well. And I think I would trust a developer with a higher pedigree to get to that level. Because if this game comes out as an 8 out of 10, it's like, well, what does that do for the platform then? Like an 8 out of 10 fighting game does really nothing. So Iron Galaxy can make it. Like, I'm not trying to really go at them. But if they are making it, I think it would be wiser to give it to a developer with a higher pedigree, making successful great fighting games. Because I look at the Metacritic of Killer Instinct, and I know Pixel kind of push back on this, but it's like a 72 or 74 or 75. Like that's not, no one's playing that. Like no one's interested in a 75 Metacritic fighting game.
Well, but that Metacritic fighting game would have come with Iron Galaxy, with Double Helix, because they created that. And of course, when they created it, that's when it was reviewed. Right after it's reviewed, you don't get reviewed, because that game had a long cycle where it was started with Double Helix.
Iron Galaxy made a season 2, yeah.
Yes, they continued the lineage. They didn't build it. Right.
Okay.
Double Helix built it, and then they were bought by Stadia. Right. So then they stopped working on it. Then Iron Galaxy picked it up with Microsoft's insistence, right? Microsoft hired them to continue the ball, and they've continued it on. And everyone that has played it with Iron Galaxy say, hey, these guys knew what they were doing. So they didn't actually get a chance to build it. They just continued the lineage and continued the seasons, and people who play it really enjoyed the work that Iron Galaxy put in there, right? They never got a chance to put their vision on that thing. So we don't know what it would be like if Iron Galaxy had actually built it.
Yeah, but I mean, would you still really trust them though?
I do, because like even what they inherited, they really for a long time kept that IP strong, and people who played that game enjoyed that game, and it was very good. Obviously, when you hear that it didn't make as much, that means you got to give them more of a budget to do more things, right? Like they are workers, right? If you don't give them more, they can't do more. So what they were given, it worked out very well. People really enjoyed the game. I don't think anybody played season 2 and onward that Iron Galaxy was managing and said, this is not great. Right.
Yeah. So I would say
they took it on and moved it.
Yeah, I would say everyone should take my statements with a grain of salt, because I'm not crazy and
it's not a game you play. But I'm saying the reason why I would say that Iron Galaxy would be a good look to continue is because once they picked up the thing that already existed, what they did with it was commended.
Yeah, I think that's a fair thing. I think I look at it from a point of view of I think Xbox has been in this situation now where like there's many risks being taken with different developers. You guys do this, you guys do that, and lack of maybe oversight. I think when you have a studio like a Bandai Namco or maybe a Capcom, I think they don't really need that level of oversight because they know what they're doing. So the question would be more like, if a Capcom was to make, or Capcom Bandai Namco was to make a Killer Instinct game, as opposed to Iron Galaxy, yeah, they can both be good, but which one would be better and be a better use of use of capturing people to come to the platform? Maybe I'm completely wrong, or maybe Killer Instinct, Iron Galaxy is the developer that should be that. But I think from a risk adverse point of view, I think I'm done with this, just give money and let developers cook kind of thing. It's like, no. What are you good at doing? Yeah, we want you to take that talent and what you achieve here and to kind of replicate it for this particular specific game or so. So yeah, that'll just be my take on it. But like I said, take my advice or my points with a grain of salt.
Hey man, we all want what we want. Like you heard me. Give me something in the Remedy verse, and I'll be happy. That's what I'm looking forward to.
Yeah.
But yes, so these games here right now that what I'm showing on the screen. These are games that have been confirmed to be talked about at Gamescom. They've already talked about it. Obviously, Final Fantasy is already talked about being there. We're already speaking about the DLC, the Song of the Past coming for The Witcher 3, which I think is super interesting because man. When CD Projekt Red said they were giving up the Red Engine, I'm like, oh, that sucks. Clearly, they're coming back to it again and again and again. So we shall see. That looks good. Obviously, lots of games coming out here, as you see, Ananta and Metroid 2039. Lots of confirmed games already. What do you think? What are you trying to see from these? What are you trying to see from a new entrance into the market? Well, it doesn't have to be Xbox, it could be PlayStation, it could be Nintendo. What do you expect that would make Gamescom buzz that has not been announced yet? Right? Some people are thinking that obviously they'll show more E-Day, possibly, right? Alien Isolation, Witcher 4, lots of announcements, potentials. What are your thoughts?
It's a tricky one because I was thinking about this a good bit and I couldn't really think of an IP that was gonna really make everyone go crazy. I don't know if even Gamescom is the place where you want to reveal a game like this, but it could be as well. I don't really have thoughts here. I do think you would do really well with releasing showing a Witcher 4, right? But then again, I think that might be too big for Gamescom. But at the same time, if you know what, you kind of dominate Gamescom.
I gotta say, have you been to Gamescom before, Ty?
No, never.
You really should go. You really should go. It's closer to you, if I'm not mistaken, than to us, right? And I've been to Gamescom a few times. I plan on going next year. The idea that it's not it's a too big a game or too big an announcement for Gamescom is true from a zeitgeist perspective. But it's hilariously inaccurate from an actual boots on the ground perspective. Like the E3 that everybody knows, that's the big thing. It is a morsel, teeny tiny drop of grain of sand compared to the monster that is Gamescom. So huge of an event that is Gamescom. That's why I've always been like, why is it always that LA is where all the big things are now? Do you know how big Gamescom is? As far as people, boots on the ground, developers that come, it is wild to me that for some reason, LA has always been the place that, I've always expected that Gamescom should become bigger. There are 6 or 7 football field sizes like of like places where different games are being shown and different developers are there, and not only Microsoft, Nintendo has its own space and Capcom has its own space, and they all integrate. It is like days and days and sea of humans, like as far as size and scale, right? Mm-hmm. So if this is the year when they finally start really putting like attention to Gamescom, I would think it's worthy, because people should be going to Gamescom. It should be more a big thing, especially now that E3 is not a thing. Gamescom should be the thing. You know, it really should.
Yeah. No, I actually agree with that. I was thinking more like a Game Awards, which for like trailer might be a better use of their maybe time, resources, and impact. But to be honest,
what's going to happen, right?
What's going to happen?
You do that, Xbox game is going to be like, why are you giving it to Keighley? That's what they're going to tell you. That's what they're going to tell you.
No, true. But no, I actually think you raise a good point there. That Gamescom, you probably could show it there. I just don't know what kind of game they would show. To be honest, I think for Xbox, I can see them utilizing all these different showcases well more, because they just have so many IPs to show. So for them, it makes so much sense. You kind of.
I've said this for so long. Like, why should every other showcase that you come to be a regurgitation of the one we saw before it? You have so many IPs. There are so many great showcases out there. Why not make Gamescom something that's really worth seeing? Why not make TGS something that's worth waking up at 2 o'clock in the morning for? Why not?
Yeah,
you have so many IPs. You know what I mean? Don't show me ESO at Gamescom. Don't show me ESO at TGS. That's what you showed me in LA. Right? Show me something else. Like more and more, they have to start taking those bulls by the horns, as it were. But I genuinely think that more people should be, and they, as in Microsoft and Sony and all of them, should be making more of an effort to make those shows far bigger than they have been, because it just gives you more of an emphasis of where else you can watch your stuff and get people excited and all that, and it works for your business, right? Like it works for your business, people, especially now that there's no day where everyone can just like sit in front of a TV and know that they have 3-4 days where all you're doing is watching. Like that used to be gamers' Christmas, right? E3 that doesn't exist anymore, right? So the only thing that exists now is Gamescom, and that's also 3 days of crazy games and stuff. I really hope they do spend some time and effort doing that. But all right, let me ask you a few more, and we'll get the heck out of here. And folks in the chat, I want y'all to weigh in as well. What games do you expect to see here at Gamescom? Do you too think that it's time for them to do a lot more, or is it kind of like the perception? Oh yeah, it's probably going to be the same thing they showed at E3, showed at the E3 likes. You know what I'm saying? Like, I guess my question to you is, like, are you happy with the idea that in these showcases now, something like a Microsoft is the only one that comes first party, and we don't see as much of Microsoft, as much of Nintendo, we don't see as much of PlayStation. Like I wanted this place to be where all of them come back, compete again, but it looks like they're not particularly interested in doing so. I would love to see, like, out of nowhere, Sony drop some kind of monster game you never knew was coming, and it drops here at this show. What do you think?
I love that idea as well. I think anything that kind of resembles E3 is great. I just understand why they're not that interested, because they can control the narrative a little bit more. I think Gamescom and these other showcases can be utilized for maybe marketing purposes. Like if Sony has a game coming out, okay, we'll drop maybe another trailer at Gamescom, right? So then everyone gets all happy, everyone sees it, and it kind of like helps with the hype. But in terms of revealing maybe a new title IP, I don't know if that's what they're looking to do, just simply because if you're if Xbox is competing again, right, and they're like going all hard, when you do your state of plays, which pulls in numbers, you just want that to be the main focus. You want those games to be showing up there as well. But ultimately, as what you're saying, I do like the idea of Nintendo showing up there, Xbox showing up there, having everyone has a booth, and everyone can go everyone can, engage with each other, and it kind of brings back that E3 hype. I just don't see it happening.
That's what we want. That's what consumers want. I think that's what consumers want. Now, it may not make business sense, to your point, right? Now you're sharing the stage with others, but I think for Microsoft it works better because they're trying to use them as partners, right, to sell their wares, and obviously Nintendo and Sony see things a little differently. But I miss those days, man. I miss those days when we could all just sit in front and really, really enjoy ourselves and have that. Shout out to the great BT Maverick. He's saying he's hoping for Ori 3. I don't know, man. No Rest for the Wicked is still working its way through. Would Moon Studios be back in the Microsoft business? I don't know. I did see Thomas Mahler talking about how the Ori franchise was the best franchise on Xbox One. He said that a couple of days, I think a week or so ago. People give him smoke. I wouldn't say I disagree, but the way he said it was kind of like, ours was the best on the platform, and people gave him a lot of smoke for that. But I would think probably those are one of my favorites. But Ori 3 would be awesome. Have you ever played Ori?
No, I haven't. But man, I heard many good things about it, and I almost feel like to the extent you could agree with him, it was a new IP. And it was very well received. So maybe Xbox should have focused more on it. Yeah, that's probably a very good shout from him.
Yeah. Now he has been a bit of a lightning rod for controversy. He says things that people don't like. He comes out the mouth a little too prematurely sometimes. So that's probably why people give him smoke for it. But genuinely, that game was excellent, excellent. So they own the IP now as far as Microsoft. So it probably won't be made by Moon Studios, but it could be an Ori 3, right? Although then I get worried because say what you will about Moon Studios and how they move or whatever, their games have been second to none as far as beauty, as far as art, as far as music. They are very good. If you don't believe me, go check out No Rest for the Wicked. It is just as amazing as Ori, right? From a graphic and gameplay and art perspective. So I would worry that if they were to give that IP to someone else, could they still strike that amazing balance?
Would you give it to them though?
I mean, that's the tough thing, right? I have a hard time thinking that this is just an IP that can just be given to someone else, right? Some IPs kind of are a vision of the creators, Some IPs are a vision of the creators, and you'd need them to make that vision work. I don't know. Same thing as in Quantum Break. Could you see Quantum Break being made by somebody that's not Remedy? I don't know. Maybe a remake, sure, but next new stories, new engine, new whatever, all from a different take. I feel like it'd be like making a James Gunn movie without James Gunn. You know what I mean? He has a signature. You don't. True. That's kind of how I feel.
My only issue with him is that I don't know. He just seems like he talks too much. And I get this feeling like he likes going at Xbox. I'm not trying to work with somebody who's targeting my platform and is always taking shots here and there. So if we start working together and then something doesn't go well, maybe you're not meeting your targets, and then I'm giving out to you. Are you gonna go on Twitter and start bashing me, being like, "Oh, Xbox is making me do this"? Nah, I think he's a bit too controversial for my liking, to be honest.
That's what I was talking about, right? He's a bit of a controversial figure. So I don't know how you do that. It is what it is. He makes amazing games, though, bar none. He makes amazing games. It is what it is. I, for one, before we get out of here, would love to see Sega finally unveil more of its stuff. I know that they recently talked about, and we even forgot one more thing. We'll quickly jump into something else. They recently talked about the TV show for Golden Axe. Right, I would love for them show me Golden Axe, the game. Show me freaking Jet Set Radio. I've been waiting for that game so patiently. That's one of my favorite games from my youth. I can't wait to see that remake. I am sick and tired of waiting. I want to see them unveil some things. Hopefully they unveil that here. But then of course there's also TGS, so that may be where they unveil.
I mean, speaking of Sega, Persona 6.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Persona 6 would be a very cool drop as well. Yes. Yeah. So I for one, I'm excited for Gamescom. I didn't get to go this year for reasons. I'll probably get to go again next year, but we will be at PAX West. But when Gamescom happens, we'll be all here in the Discord and whatnot, talking about it and all that fun stuff. All right. Last story, and then we will get the heck out of here. What do you think of this, sir? Because I know you have thoughts. You and I didn't discuss what you thought of the original choice of casting for Kratos. I, for one, was a little. Y'all heard me on here. I was a little dubious of it. Great actor. I wanted somebody who was fresher, maybe looked the part a bit more. And then, for whatever reason, he was let go. Well, not for whatever reason. He had an injury during his workouts and during filming, and supposedly the injury is actually substantial enough to where it will warrant him not being able to put any strain and stress on it for a good year and a half, to the point where they had to recast the gentleman who was cast as Kratos first, Ryan Hurst. So now, of course, they have cast Batista as Dave Batista as Kratos. Ty, what did you think of Ryan Hurst in the first place, and what do you think of Batista replacing him?
So when I first heard Ryan Hurst was gonna be playing Kratos, I wasn't too excited. I was like, oh, okay. I suppose it kind of seemed like there were potentially maybe better options, or at least from an image point of view. And then, that infamous picture came out. I was like, Jesus, this is terrible. Like, this doesn't look anything like Kratos.
That AI one, yeah.
Was it AI?
Yeah, it supposedly was AI backed. It wasn't like it wasn't them, just a photo. It was officially released by Amazon, but they did say that it was AI backed. Yeah.
Jesus, why would they do that?
That's the question, right? They officially released AI.
Were they trying to sabotage this guy? Like, I don't understand why they would. Okay,
I call it their ugly Sonic moment. That's what I call it.
Yeah, that's such a weird one to do. But yeah, so when that picture came out, I was like, yeah, this isn't it really. He just doesn't really look the part. But I will say the same thing. Like when The Witcher, when Henry Cavill was cast as Geralt of Rivia, people also had pushback. They weren't too sure if he was the right person for the role. But then things changed when he was in his full attire, right? Everyone started to get on board with like, oh, okay, he does look the part. And when I saw Ryan's recent picture of, him, the mirror, and I was like, okay, yeah, they did him bad. Like, they did him dirty because he looks so much better here. Now, Batista being Kratos, I wasn't too sure if it was the perfect pick. I don't know if Jesse Momoa is a perfect pick, to be honest. And this might be a bit more controversial, but I actually thought a Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson.
You're gonna get people hunting you down, bro.
Yeah, from like when he was playing, was it Hobbs in Fast and Furious?
Yeah. He could have done it
because I think he did really well there, right? And I thought that kind of energy, can work for a Kratos in God of War. So I was really thinking he might be yes, I'm not his biggest fan from an actor point of view, but he might be like, at least from a Kratos point of view. The look, and even I think his acting prowess is strong enough to kind of carry that kind of like tough man acting. So to be honest, I actually felt like maybe The Rock could do this, and he probably could do it well. Just give him the big ass beard, paint him gray a little bit, and there you go. I don't know if Batista is better than The Rock for this specific role. I just don't know.
Oh, I disagree. I wholeheartedly disagree.
Okay.
So I would argue, and this might be a hot take from me. I would argue that, and this is Hurst, and this was that infamous picture that came out. So this is what made people go, oh no, right? I would argue that, and people in the chat, please push back on me if you think not. But I would argue that Batista is only seconded maybe by the dude that plays Peacemaker. Batista is the best actor to come out of wrestling. The best actor to come out, to the point where he is good enough to be known as an actor, not just a wrestler. The Rock is not at that level. He had a spark. You're not wrong. Like, I've watched many a Rock movie where I'm like, yo, this dude can do it. But eventually his ego kind of took over.
Yeah.
Right. And now it's all about, the persona rather than the work of acting. And like, I've actually had this debate back and forth with people in Discord. That's why I'm laughing when you said The Rock, because I know they're going to come for you like they came for me.
Yeah. I defeat him.
Because basically the thing is like and this is Hurst right before the issue. the incident. So he had finally worked out. He was getting there, and then he had an accident, and now he is where he is. So I agree that Batista, that The Rock, a version of The Rock in the past had the prowess and the humbleness to make that work. I believe that, but The Rock of today is not that guy. He's not that guy. And I would argue Batista of today is just as humble, even though he's super famous and super. John Cena also super popular, but whenever he takes an acting role, he takes it seriously, and he conforms to that role. The role does not conform to him. And I think The Rock is at a place in his zeitgeist movement around him, his aura, where everything becomes a rock project. He's not an actor in it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that's what might change that, right? And honestly, from an acting perspective, I think Batista even crushes Ryan Hurst. Like, Batista's a great actor, like a great actor. If you haven't seen him in what do you call it? The new Blade Runner, he has small roles in a few places. Every time he shows up, he doesn't play the big brooding guy. He plays the humble, quiet, able to do that emotional work. And he's still doing that. And this is this big brooding guy you would expect. None of these actors have been able to really dig deep and play against their type. They're always brought to play the big brute, right? And this guy is able to do both super well, right? Don't let Drax fool you. I think he's a great actor. I think he's going to do this role like insanely well. I'm so excited for it.
No, I think it's a really good shot. I think Batista is good, and Hollywood says Batista is a better actor than The Rock. I think my real point with The Rock is he looks the part.
He does.
And I think The Rock's acting, range is actually better suited. Like, you could say, for example, like Vin Diesel's, like, his range is great, right? But like The Rock's, like, the way he, carries himself, like, he's that kind of huge, muscled up, hard hitting. And I'm talking about, like, The Rock from, like, the Fast and Furious, the way he was acting there. I was like, yeah, I could see him doing Kratos, to be honest. I think he kind of fits. Now, Batista could be the better actor, and he can, bulk up, etc., etc. But I think The Rock was a decent shout. Now, would I give it to The Rock for the reasons you've said? No, I would not. I think he has an ego. I think he's going to try to control.
He's gone too far. His ego has gone too far to the point where it just can't happen anymore. So this was the Batista we knew, right? That's the Batista we knew back in the day, right? And this is the Batista we have today. But of course, he just got this role, right? And he will be bulking up. This is him normal now, right? I would say, because when Hurst started, he wasn't there. Hurst bulked up to get there, to get to this. This is him normal. So now he's got to bulk up. I think he could play it from a like a use case, from a mass perspective, much better. Because I was talking to some people about this as well. Like, if you are a bodybuilder and you are a person whose body is used to swole muscle mass, even when you shrink down, your muscles are used to it. It'll take him far less time to get back into bulk muscle shape than it would somebody who's never done it before. Like, he is, like, his whole life has been the business of keeping his muscles, right? So when he's time to shed muscles, they know how to do it. Look at The Rock. He shed his muscles like that, right? Because they know how to work their body. So if they need a role to get back into bulk shape, I can see him. I expect that when we see him in full attire, he will be far more bulk than we see today. And I would argue his skin tone, the look, he has more of a olive skin, potentially Greek, and he's not Greek, but he looks that more. Whereas Hurst looked like a Viking. Like, his voice acting, he was actually voiced to voice act Thor in the game because he's a Viking. So how are you going to make the Viking play the dude who's an outsider?
Yeah. I mean, I'll say this, like, you've convinced me, because I was never really like sold on like The Rock. I just thought it was interesting. I just thought it was something.
It looks good. He looks good. Yes, he looks good. I said that The Rock would work as and this is real quick. This is what people came for me. I said The Rock would work really good as Apocalypse in the X-Men.
Oh, 100%.
Right, young Rock could do En Sabanur very well, because if he doesn't have the ego, he could do the En Sabanur growing in.
Wait, I'm sorry. People disagree with you that The Rock could do an Apocalypse?
Yeah, they think hell
How?
no. Oh
He
yeah,
looks, he looks
join the
part,
Discord.
He looks the part, and he's
Shout out to Hollywood Rules. You see, people came for me when I said this.
No, but why? Because of he looks the part. Number one.
No, it's not. It's not the looks. People think he's a bad actor. People think he's all ego. He does not have any. He doesn't have anything else to offer but his ego. See, it's the ego. People think that he can't do the work.
If you take away the ego, like, because I'm talking about like just acting skill. Because I'm looking at Apocalypse here. I'm not expecting Apocalypse to have a.
Now, Wade Johnson. I'm sorry. Are you saying that Smash Machine proves that he can or can't do it? I would hope. Please double check, because I heard that even though people didn't like Smash Machine, they were going to give him Oscar nominations for his work in Smash Machine. I'm talking about the Rock.
Oh yeah,
so he can actually do that.
I've heard good. Yeah. I've heard he has good range in Smash Machine as well.
Yeah, it's almost like he went back to being his humble way, and now he's actually acting again, right? So like Ty, you need to come and join us back on the Discord, because they hunt me down. And they skewer me for even bringing up the idea that The Rock could play Apocalypse, even though he looks like it. He could look like
they just don't like. They just hate The Rock. That's it. Like,
yeah, a lot of people have hate for The Rock, which truth be told, I can understand, because the dude has made everything about him, and it makes it difficult for the project to move forward. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, even the whole thing with with that movie he did with the DC, what's called again?
Black Adam.
That was just like
he was made to play that, right? He was made to play that. He could have done it, but he made the ego, and it kind of blew it all the way. Like, even the movie itself wasn't terrible, but come on, it shouldn't have been his project. He should have just been a person who's just working on it, right? Along as everybody else. Yeah, I agree. So there you go. So join us for the continued conversation, ladies and gentlemen, because I too think that The Rock is not useless. I think he could do Apocalypse, damn it. But no one else.
I'm so shocked that they don't think so. Like, he clearly can do Apocalypse. Like what kind of range do you want? Do you want him to cry? Do you want him to be like depressed? Like, what is it? Like,
you know,
it's very simple.
I used AI to put, because if you've watched the new season of X-Men 97, you know that there's spoilers for X-Men 97, light spoilers. There's parts of Apocalypse in X-Men 97. They do some kind of backstories and things. Like Ensabanur, they talk about how he became all of this stuff in it that's really cool. Right. Yeah. And when you see the actor or the drawing that they did for Ensabanur, who turns into Apocalypse, it looks like The Rock with hair. It looks like The Rock from his old. It's like they literally just went, hey, we want The Rock to play this guy. That's what made me go, huh? Because as soon as you watch that show, you're like, yo, that looks like The Rock. It just does. Yeah. And they drew him as The Rock with the blue mouth and all of this. And hair, you know,
it's so easy to see Rock as Apocalypse. Yes! The only thing I would say, I mean, if I was Dwayne, I would be reaching out to Marvel. However, I do think Marvel will say no, because I think he comes with drama.
Yes, that's the problem, and that's probably why everyone else is like, nope, because he comes with too much want, and it becomes his project, and it becomes this big thing, and he won't let others live. It'll become what he needs it to be, and screw that. We don't want that. Get The Rock out of here, right? That's what's become his issue. But I think that in a vacuum where he wasn't like all that, he could do the job, bro. He could do the job. Let me pull up real quick. This was my AI convincing thing. Mm-hmm. I used AI. You know what I'm saying? Like he could do this. Yeah, like, we were talking about this.
He can have the look. That's number one.
Yes,
there.
He has
number
the look.
Two, like the acting. I don't expect, like, what kind of acting do you expect Apocalypse to have per se? Like, it's
he has Shakespearean lines. You know, he speaks with relevance and
the
power.
Dwayne's not a bad actor, and as everyone mentioned in Smashing Machine, he was good as well. Like, he can do Apocalypse. I just would have picked him because I think he's just gonna like. It's the same reason why I'm not crazy about Henry Cavill, because I feel like Cavill is one of those guys, those actors who they fancy themselves to be directors as well. So they'd want to kind of input their own take on the character. Whereas if I'm hiring to do a position, I don't need you telling me what the character is. No, I wrote the character. I'm telling you what to do. So I think Henry kind of gives up that vibe. And this, I'm not saying that's a good thing or bad thing per se. I'm just saying if I was making a project and I had my own vision, I don't need the actor pushing back, being like, no, do it like this, do it like that. And I think The Rock is kind of like that too as well.
Yep, absolutely. You're not wrong. All right. So, because we've had a great conversation, thank y'all so much for being with us. 200 plus people still hanging out, 260 and stuff hanging out with us. Thank y'all so much for being here. If you haven't hit the like button, please do before we get out of here. let me share with y'all some and this is me telling y'all, join our Discord, because these are the conversations we have all the time. We have great fun conversations about what our fan casting is and all of that. Myself and Umbra have been like fan casting this man. This is Ricky Whittle. We've been fan casting this man forever. Ricky Whittle should have been God of War. This is Ricky Whittle. He should have been God of War, right? He really looks the part. And this, we just put a beard on him. He looks like this, just without the beard, right? Like he could have done this role. And a younger actor, we think Ricky Whittle could have done it. So this is our fan casting of it. And I'll leave it before we get out of here. This is the great Infinite Umbra as Kratos. I'll leave that there. So there we are. We are done here, ladies and gentlemen. Brother Ty, it is always excellent to have you on the show. We have so much fun. People don't agree with all your takes, but that's why I like having you on. We have a nice good tussle. People enjoy the back and forth. This is what we do here and on Discord. Always enough respect to you. Thank you so much for being here. Tell the people where they can keep on with your ongoings over the month here.
Sure, you guys can find me at Tire Talks. Same name for Twitter or X as well. Don't really have much content coming out soon. I think a lot of the Dawnwalker is something that I'm kind of interested in, so I'm looking to play that. And if the stories are interesting, the side stories are interesting, the lore is good, I'll probably start making videos on that. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, Tire Talks, TAYETALKS. Same thing for Twitter or X.
Thank you so much for being here. And I will double ask people to go check out the Tire Talks web YouTube channel. I'll put it in the show notes. Great essays, really putting stuff out there, thinking deep. And the podcast is also great. You guys still have kept that up. I know you guys been doing from time to time.
Yeah.
Really good content. I love your takes on Mass Effect. There's really good Mass Effect essays on his channel.
Thank you very much.
Go check that out. If you haven't done that already. Great brother of the community, always putting some good information out there and challenging expectations, which I always appreciate, brother. So that's it from us, man. We're gonna be here. Probably gonna be back next week. Next week will be the last show before PAX West. So after next week, of course, the Everborn Saga will be back and join us, and we're gonna have a big show. We're gonna have the anticipatory show and all that, and then we'll be off the game, off to PAX West. And then we'll come back and you expect a lot of interviews and all that other great stuff from us there as well. Thank you to all the great people who continue to join us every week with super chats and the letting people know that we're here. And I see y'all setting retweeting and letting folks know on Twitter that we're around. We really appreciate y'all. With all of your support, we're getting access to interviewing people, maybe doing some previews and reviews of things, having a lot of fun, doing a lot of work, and getting to enjoy this gaming thing that we do for your benefit. Check us also out on the Gaming Circle, thegamingcircle.com, the website. We're continuing to move and shake in that way, in that place, but you're going to start seeing a lot more visual changes there. We're working in the background to potentially visually upgrade it and change it up, and we're going to start putting a lot more attention in that space. Always appreciate those who read the stuff we're doing there. Shout out to Lucius and shout out to Soil Tech and all the other great people who keep helping us making that site great. Shout out to the great Soil Tech for reminding people. Yes, continue to remind us. We need y'all to join our Discord. We have fun every day talking games, talking all manner of things, but we're going to start refocusing a lot more on games on the channel. One thing I want to do, we were doing the best of games. We were doing a top 10 of all these various games. We went into it and then we didn't finish because life happened and things completely diverged us. We're going to go back to that. I was talking to Six Slayer in the morning about it. I want to finish our top 10s of all platforms. And we were pretty close. We were doing Genesis, we're doing Nintendo, all these other things. We're going to get back to that. So join us, discord.gg/TGCP. We are here for you every single day, even if the show is not live. We're there. When I'm at Gamescom or when I'm at PAX, I'll be turning on the camera. We'll be talking to you from the show floor. Always having fun. So join us there. But yeah, I think that's it, man. Shout out to the great Everborn Saga, who's still in what is it? NYC, Anime NYC. If you have a chance to go join him, go get boots on ground and let him know that you show some support and maybe go buy some Everborn Saga merch. But that's it, man. Thank you, Ty, for being here. Appreciate you showing your support as you do. And that's it. We're out. Until next week. Have a good one. Peace.
Nice to be in orbit.